And we're live! Hello and welcome to the 147th episode of Game Theory Gang. I'm your host, Maddie Allen, with Fast Abdoul of twofucks.io and ChrispyMan of hexfire.io. Welcome.
Hey, boys.
Welcome.
How's it going?
Good.
Right on. So, week after the HEX conference. It's still fresh in my memory. That was it was exciting, but it was a long couple of days, wasn't it?
Oh yeah.
More for you, I
We're
guess.
hot off of a successful conference.
Yeah.
We had many speakers, over 50, and 4 nights, 5 hours each. And had a lot of really good talks. And thank you again to all the speakers and everybody who watched. Even the haters watched. Eric Wall watched this year and commented publicly.
No, he did not.
He did.
No.
Yeah.
No.
He said something about how, he had the disgrace of watching the HEX conference or something like that. So he put his own spin on it, but
Sure.
he was watching.
But he still gave his time to watch the HEX conference. So, yeah.
I think he
watched
watched,
what he really thinks.
Right? Yeah. Well, I think he watched Nerd Girl's talk. She did 2 different talks that had spicy titles. And then, the whole great debate between Dipcatcher and Axis Alive, that was also spicy content. And then we had your friend Sami randomly pull up at the very end of the conference.
Yeah, I
That
saw
was
it.
pretty cool, actually.
That was strange and awesome.
I saw it. Oh, man.
It surprises.
I didn't watch much of it at all.
Well, something we've got now is over the past 4 days since the conference ended, each of the talks have been split up into their individual pieces and published on x.com/hex conference. And so, in fact, this year, you might be surprised, especially if you're the person who publicly said on Twitter that you would bet all of your HEX that we didn't have more than 1% new viewers. You might be surprised to learn that even just from my own YouTube analytics, there were more than 1% of new people compared to all the holders of HEX ever, currently.
Who made that bet? Who said? Was it Trayvon said he's going to send you all his X? I think that's.
It was somebody named Trevor. I think he's actually a cool dude, but for some reason we don't get along.
Oh, Trevor. Okay, sorry, Trayvon. I got most of the letters right.
Close.
Not all of them.
But the other amazing thing is that we tried to stream to as many channels as possible this year. And so instead of just having one centralized place for people to watch the conference on this YouTube channel, it was broadcast to many YouTube channels and many Twitter channels, maybe 20 or 30 different channels at least. So you can imagine how many new viewers we had if there were 2,000 or 4,000 or 6,000 new viewers just on my channel.
And what do you think the math was on multiple people sharing? Did it get substantially more? Do you have any? Did you get any feedback on the actual numbers?
So the numbers were harder to measure this year than ever before. However, I think it just stands to reason that distributing across so many different channels got more views than we would have had at least this year on one channel alone.
Nice. Okay, well, that's a good experiment.
Yeah.
Glad you tried that.
And another thing that I've noticed is there seems to be a lot of enthusiasm after the conference. I see people streaming more, and of course, that's what I love to see is more people streaming together with each other, more people creating content. We had
I heard a lot of screaming too.
Screaming.
A lot of people screaming after the conference.
streaming and screaming. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
But it seemed like quite a positive morale boost. And I know that even though not everybody like is a fan of the HEX conference every year, there were some really nice things that people said on Cabana Crypto's happy hour show. And there were even the people who like disagreed, their comments were basically like the opposite of what people said last year. So last year people said like you excluded too many people. And this year they said like you included too many people. And like it's like the whole Goldilocks effect type thing where maybe next year it'll be just right.
Can I give you a hypothetical?
Please.
Your opinion. So I didn't like what you did, your format, or most of what who you invited on there, and the content or the link. There are a lot of things I didn't like. So I'm going to go create my own, and I'm going to do it next year myself, and I'll just space it out so it's not around your time. How do you feel about that? Is that okay?
How gracious of you.
Is that okay if I do that?
Look, I love the more HEX content there is, the more I get to consume. And yes, like I love
that is the correct answer. So this is DeFi. You guys all want to do your own conferences? Go do them.
It'll be easy. So easy.
It is easy. And I don't even mean that, I do say it tongue in cheek, but hey, listen, guys, seriously, if it doesn't have to be called the HEX conference, be something else, so it's distinguished. But if you want to do something, you think it should be different, go do it. Go do it. I mean, I'll come on, probably.
That's what a lot of people have said, and look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin has lots of conferences. And, they all have different names for sure, to keep them separate. But like, they're out there doing different things in different places. And that's a healthy thing. That's decentralized. Look, I'll even give people a tip for putting on their own conference. So, it turns out that when there was like a Tang Gang conference going on and I like wanted to support it, I shared the link, but very soon after that, this was, I don't know, maybe like 6 months ago or something. The conference got taken down, and it got taken down because of a copyright, basically like a music violation. And so I'll teach you guys for whenever anybody else puts on a conference, I don't want it to get taken down. I want to be able to share the link. And so the trick is you can upload the music that you're going to play in the live stream. You can upload it ahead of time to YouTube, and YouTube will tell you if it's a violation or not. And then you'll know which music you can play and which music you can't.
Nice. I'll pass that along to my Tang Gang buddies.
Yeah, it's and look, there's 100 things like that you might not know unless you have the experience. So I would say like don't give up. If you're trying to put on a conference, like
You're kind of making it sound like it's not that easy. Like it's not just something I can run up in a weekend and do on Monday. I'm not quite sure this is encouraging.
Well, look, I'm just trying to make it easier for people. So,
I do agree though that more is better. More like, and not just text, whatever you want to put on a, meme coin conference, put on a meme coin conference. As long as it has something to do with Pulse Chain, like I'll show up to watch or talk. I think it is a worthy endeavor. But yeah, it's, I don't want to help you plan it.
Right. Yeah.
I get that comment a lot. I think abundance mentality, I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. I think abundance mentality is really important in our eco space. It's just how I believe things should be. Other people can do what they want to do, but I think abundance mentality works for me. And so a lot of people be like, oh, you did this first. How come these other guys are doing that or whatever? And sometimes I'm doing stuff that other people showed me, right? I'm talking about like in terms of data and reports and all this other stuff. Here's the thing, man. Somebody come along and do everything that I do, and then I won't do it anymore. It's okay. No, I'm being serious about that, right? It's abundance mentality because here's the thing: is we're like this loose knit group of people in DeFi, you know, and the 5 Ds could hit me, you know. Maybe I croak. That's a D for death, right? Maybe I die. Maybe I get divorced. Maybe I'm disinterested. Maybe I'm on drugs, man. I ain't coming back. I don't know. The 5 Ds. Come up with your own list. So people are going to shift in and out of things. We've seen that over the years already.
Yep.
You know, and the way we get stronger is we have multiple sources of doing things, right? And not all of us are always going to be like in the middle of the limelight, right? Anyway, I'm just saying that it's healthy, right, to develop this stuff.
Yeah,
and have more instead of less.
For sure. And I see Hex Monkey here has a $10 super chat. Thanks for that. He says, I sense a shift towards more positivity since the conference. I've even seen some perma fudster folks posting positive stuff about the community. Hope this continues. And in fact, that's why I put the title of tonight's stream to recognize this positivity movement that has been started. And it was like, if we look at the origin, it was Sami, your friend Sami, says that he was inspired by Brissology to make this campaign and to recommend, like, the more people, the better, to be able to say on Twitter or anywhere else in social media, welcome to Pulse Chain. We love you. Instead of spewing hate, instead of infighting.
Well, I like that they're not saying Costco. Yeah, but yeah.
Well, this has certainly caught on, despite any like memeability of Costco, which, like, I'm not sure I get the reference, but
there's a movie where that's a meme.
A great movie.
You know, the great Costco, where people go to get their law degrees and all the rest in the future. Right? And the greeter in front is welcome to Costco, and he says, "We love you."
Beautiful. Yeah.
It's good.
And so, I mean, this, I've found this to work like equally well as something to say to people like within the community and outside of the community. Mm-hmm. Like, it's just a message of positivity. It can have like any level of sarcasm. It's very versatile.
I see a note in the chat. We're talking about doing different things, and there are already a lot of people doing different things. But I think the name was Anita in the chat, and she had mentioned an arts and music related type of a thing. And I think that would be awesome, dude. I mean, I think it'd be really good because just listening to DJ Cryptomatic's stream on the couple hours worth of music. Obviously, we got it out there, and we also know there's a ton of artwork. Of different types, whether it's NFT or real. I mean, I've seen the real art, that people have made, some of the physical pieces, sculptures, all that type of stuff. Well, that would be a hell of a good time too, to put something like that together.
Yeah.
Not for you, Maddie, but I mean for somebody to do that. Right. I'm not trying to overload you.
Oh, I'm no good at art, but there certainly are very gifted people in our community for sure.
Yeah.
We've got somebody joining us. Kareem, welcome back.
Hey, Kareem.
Am I dreaming? Am I dreaming or am I dreaming? I don't know.
No, you're not. Well, technically, let me show you. At home, it's still Christmas over here.
Hey.
It's shout out to John. Look at this, 2025.
Wow.
Yeah, she fired. I'm just the guy that just came back, so I can't take the credit for that. But yeah, no, you're not dreaming. What's up, everybody? Man, went out the way. What's the latest drama? Ooh, Maddie, fire hat. Woo, I want that.
Thanks. Yeah, I got the shirt too.
Hook me up. Is this PulseX on black version?
This is Twitter. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. It looked like similar logo.
It does. It's you could say that PulseX inspired it.
I thought you were advertising Token X. I'm sorry.
Right.
No, we have one on chain. It's a really nice one.
don't worry. Like you can see my stuff. I rub my hat backwards, so it's like so that way I don't have to worry about if I go certain place or certain clubs, because sometimes if you wear the wrong hat, they think you're trying to promoting X club, so then you work backwards. Like for them, this one of my favorite hat is from the club Vendome. But if I go to another club and let's say I don't have my other hat, then it's gonna look weird. So I gotta wear it backwards. Because if I wear it forward, it's like this. It's like V.
Kareem, you're never going to guess what the latest drama is.
Oh, please tell me, because one guy tried me on Twitter. I showed him down. Where are you? Be like crying and stuff, and I'm like, bro, come on.
We've canceled the drama, and there's a new saying that I was just explaining. Your friend Sami came up with it. He just popped in the chat, inspired by Brissology, to say to the haters,
Yeah.
welcome to Pulse Chain. We love you.
I saw that video.
Yes.
That was cool. And the one when he checked that was funny too. But no, but for real, big shout out to Sami. Lately I became a fan. Ain't gonna lie. It's funny, it's entertaining, and
I know. He's such a propeller head. Man. He's got that. I think, if I'm not mistaken, he wore a propeller hat one day.
Yeah, it kept me entertained.
For sure, he did.
When I was back home, man, it was crazy. It was like, I couldn't get service for live streaming stuff. Everything was delayed. I had to wait to go all the way to where my brother lives, because that's where he has Starlink to then catch up on certain things. So that's my one small regret, man. I couldn't make it to the conference. That's the one that sucks. But other than that, again, I saw a little drama about that too. I'm like, bro, it's about celebrating HEX as a whole. You know what I mean? Like, this is one thing that we keep the customs, irrespective of the drama. People should remember it's bigger than us. You know what I mean? Because that's really what it's all about. I also heard about the drama, the Alti drama. I don't know if you guys addressed that already. But again, I'm just back catching up. So whatever you guys want to talk about. But yeah, there was a lot that I was just like, what is going on? What is going on? But then again, we warned people so many times. The Alti thing, my 2 cents is that when I saw it, it is a little bit unfortunate, but then it reminded me my EOS days. For those of you watching who are new, who don't remember the story, because I've told that to Manny a couple of times, and it's so important that, sometimes somebody can mean well, right? Dan Larimer, arguably one of the best coder there is, right? Delegated proof of stake, which is what pretty much, Ethereum Pulse Chain. He was the guy that created it. BitShare, this guy, EOS, raised $4 billion. We had everything. We had community. We had, the devs. We got but then sometimes people just don't do the right thing. And then they decide to just take the money and go. And then you remind me why, quote unquote, Richard Hart, ecosystem, why I warn and remind people repetition is the mother of all skills, right? Me, all of us in this panel, me and Crispy, sometimes, we talk ad nauseam about, T-share and this, that, to the point where it's boring, right? It's the same thing about all those high value. It's boring.
You know what's not boring? 126 million in penalties today.
Oh, that was crazy. That good accounting, that was fire. But the really important point I want to make real quick is that sometimes after many years, something may be boring. Oh, Kareem, I heard that a million times. But we're repeating that same shit for a fucking reason. Excuse my French. Because sometimes people forget. They're like, oh, yeah. And then when they get burned, they have to relearn something that deep inside they already knew, but they forgot. Or they thought, oh, the times has changed and people has changed. And then, boom, same problem happens again. So, and I saw Rich wrote a tweet about that too. But again, it is very unfortunate. My buddy Silver, I feel bad for him. But again, this is one of those learning lessons where hopefully he can just, take it and move on. What else are we going to say?
I lost some money in Alti, and it's my fault because I didn't pay attention to the game theory as closely as I could have. I was actually planning on being involved in the testing, but got too busy with moving and putting on the conference and stuff. And so whereas it's easy to blame others for their for their part that they played, I think part of being in true DeFi is like taking your own responsibility, for your own keys, your own coins, and like your own, at the end of the day, like you're the only one who can press the buttons.
Exactly.
I think that like Steph's criticism of like this idea that we see in the highest of stakes, which is like, having a good king, right? Like Steph didn't like that idea. And so he tried to create something that was so decentralized, like nobody could fix it if it went wrong. Mm-hmm. One of the advantages that sometimes gets characterized as a disadvantage of the HEX and pulse chain system is that you do have the OA, like, guarding over the system in a sense. And that's not to say that it'll bail you out if if you mess up and send to the contract address, like that money's gone. Mm-hmm. But there's a different philosophy. There's different game theory that was like, being presented with Alti, where like there's no admin keys, like there's no centralization. The founder doesn't have any control. Well, if we look at what the hierarchy of like outcomes are, like, if you have a good king, that's better than having a dumb smart contract. And it's better than having a bad king, obviously. But having a bad king or a dumb smart contract, those are both situations where like you're equally as bad.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. My couple of words that I want to say about this history on the topic, because I did get to, read the white paper and stuff like that out of curiosity and, friends asking me feedbacks and stuff like that. But I made sure to not talk about it publicly, not get involved. But I just like back in the day, I used to tell Fast Abdoul when he first got is that, I got no malice in my heart. I am no haters. I'm willing to debate anybody, any subject, any whatever, because it is now we have pulse chain, right? We have to welcome new things. But if I see something that hasn't got the checkbox that I need to see, then I'll just choose not to get involved. But doesn't mean that I won't do the review and all this other stuff. So, and hopefully somebody clipped this. So there's a couple of things that I think Steph just learned the hard way, but he had to relearn and to allow him to remain humble. Because what I realized is that he took a lot of things for granted that Richard Hart has taught us, that he has benefited from, that we have all benefited from. And when I say Richard Hart, the devs involved, all this other stuff, that number one, coding is hard. You can mean very, very well. To this day, I will say this. I don't believe at first, like, I don't believe the guy's a scammer, this and that. But again, it's people's money and emotions are high. You can mean well, but that doesn't mean that it's easy to do and something can go wrong. So when you look at things like HEX and people trying to do similar things, they look like, oh, I can do the same or I can do better and da-da-da-da. This will be a number one, humbling experience. Number two, very, very important. You do not bite the hand that feed you. You don't, the last thing you want to do, it's so not classy. You don't talk shit about the product, let alone the founder that you benefited from. Like, that's crazy to me. Number three, and this goes to some
I don't talk
friends.
too much shit about Satoshi.
Exactly. Number three, and this goes to my friends. They know who they are. You know what I mean? Obviously, one of them silver. It's that it's just like in HEX, you don't go crazy day one. We learned that from HEX. I learned that from EOS back in the day.
Right.
You never do that. Expect the negative 90% because people are gonna FOMO. But then what did we see? People FOMOing, and then because when the thing goes down 90% in the beginning, that doesn't mean it's a scam. It just means you FOMOing. You shouldn't have. There's a lot of people that got burned with that. But then ultimately, when he made I think that's when he made the post saying that it was a problem, and that was a reminder to people that you can have security audit, and it's good that he trying to do all those things and spend the money and go again. It's so safe, right? You can't touch the money, so to speak, right? You can have all those things, but economic audit is just as important. That reminds me back in the day with the Titan HEX people, and again, no hate, shout out to all those who made money, whatever. But by the time I heard about it, and my friend came to me, and it was 2-3 months in, I spent a lot of time because my friends, right? Read the token economic. I say, yo, yeah, this, that. Okay, cool. I see some mechanics that's similar to HEX. Obviously, they're trying to copycat. But I'm like, bro, the way it works right now, the incentives to get in at this stage is worse for the guy getting in compared to the guy before because there's too many incentive give in the beginning, not enough meat on the back end. So if you get in now, I told my friend, you will become X liquidity. There's no way you're going to be able to catch up. And some smart contracts are unfortunately designed like that, where they want people to participate so badly that they want that instant gratification, and they give too many, whether it is yield, promotional, you name it, that creates dumpamental and not enough meat for the people that really want to play the long-term game. And then ultimately you get the design that you didn't realize, but that you created. So that's why it's just instant dump. Because if I can mint, get bonus, and dump, and just rinse and repeat and arbitrage all the way down to zero, like certain, if you remember Terra Luna, then it's like I will just do that because the incentive is there. And sometimes delaying gratification, yeah, it may not be as pretty. Yeah, it might take a long time, but it gives you that backbone. The same way people used to make fun about, the T-shirt, it's slow, it's this, it's that, it's long term, it's 50. But this is the reason why here we are today. So you need to be able to have those things. And again, he took it for granted. He didn't follow up on that. And forget that, again, software is hard. And somebody can mean well, but still, that doesn't mean that you are at the same level as somebody that has a proven track record.
Yeah, but in this case, it was game theory is hard was the problem, not code is hard,
but
which is also hard. Blockchain
system.
Code is very, very. So I had a 3-hour discussion today with Future Us about.
Oh, how is he, by the way?
Good. He was educating me on the trade-offs between what is the difference between storing stuff in the system state of Geth versus Aragon versus basically having stuff in event logs. And there's this deep philosophical kind of rabbit hole that you can go down, which is part of the reason why the HEX smart contract, became more expensive to end stakes shortly after HEX launched, was because Vitalik was basically changing his game theory of how to make it so that people could run, nodes and validate the system, so on and so forth. But just real quick before we move on from this point, I wanted to make sure everybody knows, if you're a Time Pays Me user, I released an article today about how to run Time Pays Me without the front end. The front end is still there. The front end still works, but I actually did a step-by-step instruction on how to use Pulse Scan and Ether Scan to run the contract code yourself without the, without the front end. And what that does for you is it gives you a better way to, basically be sure of your own self-reliance and not rely on a middleman, not rely on a front end. And that's along the ethos as well of DeFi, Pulse Chain, HEX, Richard, Hart, all that good kind of stuff. So I wanted to make that announcement that, I know for some people, loading their time locks has been it's been sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, based on if you have 100 locks, they might not load very quickly. But this is a workaround for those people, as well as, a method that allows anybody to be able to have that peace of mind that, you can still follow these steps and everything works perfectly. So
nice. Yeah, so
I'll drop that in the chat here, but it's,
if you have the article, it's better to put it in there so that way people can have a link. I think that'd be good.
But it's on the x.com/timepaysme posted there as well.
Okay. So yeah, so what I would just say just before we move on here in conclusion is that, hopefully he takes it as a good humbling experience. Hopefully those who got involved as well learn from that. And again, don't bite the hand that feeds you. Understand that software is hard, and understand that before you start something new, you should always go a little bit step by. Don't go all in. Don't go day one. I mean, just basic things that we have learned from so many projects, because again, you have something start and it goes 90% down. That doesn't mean it's a scam, but you have to be self-aware. And before you start comparing certain things, what's the name of that thing, that effect that says something that's continuously worked for a while is most likely to continue to work, and then people should give that more credit versus something that's new. There's a term, there's an effect.
The Lindy effect?
Yes. So, and remembering that it's very, very important. And for those watching, yes, sometimes we're repetitive, we're redundant, but it's moment like this. I just want to bring that to your attention. All those things that we say over and over and we repeat, and what we call the Richard Hart ethos and the DeFi and decentralized and security audits and economy, all this other things. It's very important because I want to remind people that, again, an economic audit is just as important as a security audit, because if not, it's going to create panic. And then when people start dumping and panicking, it's basically the beginning of the end. You want to have something that has incentive, but you want the incentive to be balanced. This is why delayed gratification, by definition, is the only real thing that builds true wealth. Places where there's too much money, too much quick upfront, get rich quick scheme, it always ends wrong for the majority. There might be a few that's going to escape with some nice deals and this and that. That's cool. But for the majority, it ends up in a sub story. And then again, like Richard perfectly said, it sucks value from the community for no reason against this loss. And, you know, what was it? 97 million roughly that just got. Oh, I heard something from somebody on Twitter. I don't know who can verify me. That will be a no-no in my book if it's true. I heard that one wallet or whatever after the debacle related to Steph was dumping or cashing out 3 million from the pool somehow. Is that true? Or what's up with that? I saw a Twitter post that was saying something like that, because that would be crazy. Because if you already messed up and then you apologize, but then whatever's left on your mistake, quote unquote, and then you exit by dumping whatever's left on the community to suck the rest of the value, to me, that's a no-no. That's a L. That's a big L.
That could be like illegal concern.
I don't know if it's true or not. I'm asking because it came on my thread. Literally, I was about to leave and come back because, again, there's so much shit going on. I was like, nah, that can't be, because that's
I can't verify that. I haven't seen anything like that, but
okay. Because anybody in the chat, if you know anything, please let us know. But I saw a thread. But again, the guy, it was a Pulse Chain guy, but I didn't know who he was, saying that there's a wallet right after the debacle, and then he made the announcement on the Twitter. And then when the price started dumping even more, there was a wallet that was extracting, I think I heard somewhere around almost $3 million from the pool itself, basically kind of like rugging it, you know what I mean? And taking whatever was left of the ETH in the pool. So I don't know if it's him or not, but that was the allegation. So I thought I would ask because he stuck in my mind, because that's the one thing that I will be absolutely fucking no. You do that shit, bro, we're done. Like, everybody can make mistakes. Like Maddie perfectly said, you know, nobody was forced to get involved. They choose. But if after all that, and people are trying to salvage whatever's left of their money, and then you're still basically saying, you guys take all the loss and I'm still going to exit the 3 mil, that to me, that's a no-no. I want to say that loud and clear. So, but if we can't verify it, then it is what it is.
sometimes stuff just doesn't work too. And I think that's, you know, to me, it makes me bullish on all the forks we have on Pulse Chain, because we kind of have some verification that all these things worked other places, were audited in most cases, likely with the economic audit as well as the technical audits you're talking about. Like all the big stuff that's forked to Pulse Chain, it all worked on Ethereum. So as long as it's the same thing, which you needed an audit to verify, that is bullish to me, generally speaking. But yeah, DYOR.
I agree. Sure. And I agree. It's like business 101. Sometimes you open a business, the business failed. Doesn't mean you scam. But it's a different story. Like, that's why I wanted to be very careful with my words and say, hey, I heard this rumor. I saw the thread. But again, I never got involved into that contract or whatever. So I just, again, trying to advise some friends. And that's why I thought maybe one of you heard anything or was following up with that. Or Maddie, since you got involved in the contract, I don't know if you, because I knew Silver had you know, because he does that. He's a stand-up guy. You know what I mean? He disclosed his wallet and stuff like that. So that's why when I heard about his loss, I was like, man, it's a lot of money. It's sad. But again, if nobody can confirm it, it is what it is. But I just thought I would ask because I saw that.
Yeah, I would say this. The one thing I'd say about the whole thing, just like on the top, for anybody who participated and lost, I am sorry that happened. You know.
Yeah, sorry for your loss, but hopefully, please, I'm begging you, learn from it.
Well, I think you gave some good advice about how to enter into things. Yeah, it's a treacherous path, you know. Yeah. And I think where we are today, I still give this advice. It's not financial advice. When people ask me though what to do first, the first thing I'm talking about is HEX, and I'm talking about getting in with a ladder and building my own dream ladder, dream account first, and then besides that, then you start branching off. But I mean, so much of this requires you to really understand what the hell's going on. I mean, it's not hard stuff now, but I mean, yeah, if you come in and somebody starts telling you about farming, you know, now first you get it past staking, right? And then you start about farming, and then okay, so that's in the ecosystem, and people can figure out how to hold the 4 tokens, right? They can do that. But then you got farming, and then you're talking about LPing, and then maybe somebody's got a lot, and they're like, well, I want to validate. Damn, that's enough technical stuff right there before you even start getting outside of the RH ecosystem, you know? I mean, there's all this different stuff. And then I think the way I view it and is that I think you can see some actual write-ups about this in the real world that have nothing to do with crypto. I develop a certain amount of trust for our ecosystem, and then a new entrant comes into the ecosystem, and for some reason, I lend that trust to them, and they're not on the same playing field. And what ends up happening is I may not make the right decisions because I didn't think about the additional risk.
Exactly.
Right.
Because
and I'll give you
thinking that it was the same risk when it wasn't.
Yeah, and I'll give you even the most sublime example. Just the fact that I'm moving away from pulse and a path to value, I'm taking a risk the further out I get, because some of the tokens that you start getting way out there outside the circle of influence, yeah, they don't have a whole lot of liquidity, you know. And I'm not digging on it. I'm just saying that there's a lot of things out there.
Just standing the facts. That is the truth.
Yeah, and so when the music stops in the future, if you hadn't risk adjusted that, you might have a pretty big bag of something that you can't get back to something else. You know, and all of that is like outside the scope of what I think is part of the HEX ethos, anyways.
No, well said. And for those watching, what is summarized, if I want to put it in mathematical terms for people to understand? Because again, it's very, very important to talk about this and to take a wise approach, right? We're not saying don't go outside, other coin. We just say really understand the asymmetrical risk reward. It's the same thing as if you had Bitcoin and then you go Ethereum, then you go whatever. The further you go down the risk curve, yes, you can get more return, but also you can get more risk. We have a similar type of thing inside our ecosystem, on Pulse Chain, right? You got the core coin, and then you got a little bit outside of that, and it gets even more risky. Now, yes, you can make potentially a greater return, but understand the risk adjusted, which then means, technically speaking, if on one, I risk 1 and I can get 3 or 5, right? It's a decent risk to return. It's better than risk 1, get 1. If you risk 1 to get 1, you are basically gambling. It's literally the same thing as like going to the red or black. It's 50% for people to understand. When you start risking 1 to get potentially 7 or 10, now it starts looking good. And then there's certain things where you can risk 1 and you can get 100 potentially, no guarantee. But that also means that the risk is greater. So therefore, what you should be doing on an adjusted basis is actually put less money. So for example, if you had $10,000 as your capital, and then let's say you start with the core coins, risk 1 to get anywhere from 7 to 10, boom. And then you want to play the other game, the risk 1 to get 100. Now, because the reward is potentially 100, it means you don't have to put multiple thousands of dollars. It means that you can literally risk a couple $100 and you will get the same reward as the main coin where you risk it $2,000 per coin or $3,000. Because once again, it's just quick math. It's just when you do 1 to 10 or 1 to 100, the factor is 10. So in other words, I can risk 10 times less money to get the same reward. So that way, if it goes bust, right, you're still okay because you got those core coins. And that's really what's important. And that's really what we want to bring people's attention. Alti just happened to be the latest example, but we have seen it time and time and time in other coins that literally end up sucking the liquidity. And that's why we get extra dumping that we don't need, because people are just exiting their whole bag or most of it thinking, I'm going to chase this, just like chasing meme coin. It was the same thing with the PDI thing, even though the theory looks kind of good, whatever, but it's the same thing. Because if it goes to peg, it's 1 to 100. I'm not wishing any ill intent. If it goes there, and we're all going to be rich because HEX is going to be at crazy prices and pulse HEX and everything and volume and blah, 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 and TVL. But it's the same thing. Play it,
Well,
but play it
we
smart.
could talk about that.
Exactly. Play it, but play it smart. Don't be like, oh, wow, I heard about this 1 to 100. Again, same example. My bag is 10K. Let me go put 5K in there. Or some people, the whole thing. It's crazy.
Yeah, well, look, PDI, it's up what, like 10,000x, 15,000x, 5,000x, whatever you want to call it. How much did that increase the value of HEX? We're 2x where we were a year ago. So, like maybe the game theory changes as you get closer to $1 and everybody is like, oh, now I need to like rotate into something that can go higher than $1. Look, HEX can go higher than $1. So, and it's not gonna, it's not gonna have to stop at 100x because of some like mechanics built into the PDI system. So I think PDI is really cool. But when I hear people say, oh yeah, like I want PDI to go to $1 because that's gonna be good for HEX, I ask myself, what's the game theory that's gonna change between now and then versus now and in the past?
Mm-hmm. And let's say even those perfect question, Matty, and to see those people saying those things, what they're failing to realize is that can happen. But what if you move out of position? You become the classic sad story that we have seen on and on and on again. And that happened to us back in the day with the EOS because they took all our money. And what did they fucking do? They went back and they bought Bitcoin with it and Ethereum. So in other words, we became the XC liquidity. We believe all this theory. And then the coin did a round trip all the way back 50 cents where it started at the ICO. And they took the money. They went by billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin. And now next thing you know, they got the money. And mind you, they still had 10% of the value of the coin. That's how in terms of equity, that was insane. That's what the community fucked them out. Just to say this, that what you're saying could be true. But if you're stupid enough, no offense, to empty the whole bag as you FOMO in because, oh my God, it's going towards $1. But then you become the XP liquidity. The guy that's in there that probably had a 100x already, he doesn't need to wait to $1. Maybe at 10 cents, he's already 100x on his money or 50x, whatever it might be. He decides to exit. Next thing you know, it goes towards the thing, but you don't get the multiple. And because you sold your HEX, example, to go pump the PDI, when the guy rotates and buys the HEX, he gets the value. He extracts the value and run with it. As HEX goes, like Manny said, above $1.
I mean, at 50 cents, there's going to be people who are up 50,000x on PDI, right? And
yeah.
And like maybe there will be some sort of collateralization with RH tickers that like does pump our bags. But my point was that the game theory is going to have to be different than how it's been so far, because so far PDI has already had a 5,000x and HEX has had a 2x in that period.
And one more time, not to get confused, we don't say don't participate. We don't say don't play. A couple weeks back before I left, I was even explaining on the show, I said, man, I may even do a segment to show people like I can talk about any coin, whatever, if it helps overall ecosystem. It's the fact that, like the analogy, you need to have a bag to pump. So if you empty the bag to buy the other coin, by the time whatever you expect to happen happens, the PDI goes and then the HEX goes. But if you have no more HEX, then you're not going to benefit. If you understand risk-reward ratio and you put a little bit, just like I talked about minutes ago, and then it goes to the dollar, hypothetically, but you a little bit do 100x. And now you got a little bit turn. Let's say you put $1,000 and then it turned to 100K. Wow, congratulations. But the real genius part is that because you only put $1,000 in my analogy, and let's say you kept the $9,000 into the HEX, by the time some of those people start playing the rotation game, at least you still have the big bag. You keep the main thing. So if and when rotation does happen, you don't get caught off guard holding the less important coin while the more important coin is gone. And that's really what we want to teach. Again, it's not don't get involved. It's be rational and do the math, understand risk-reward ratio so that as you get involved and hopefully things goes your way, because I wish everybody the best, at least you don't get blindsided where the core thing you've been holding for a while really start to move, and now you feel really, really stupid because you hold it for years, and then right around when he was about to move, that's
I
when
think a lot of these decisions get made because people are not well grounded, and they don't necessarily have a set of rules in their mind. I'll give you a great example, right? Because this kind of like backs up what you're saying. Yes, I understand that people do very well by going in big. And so people probably describe me in very derogative terms because I'll go in small into things. But you take, for instance, right now, we talk about the PDI thing. If you really wanted exposure to the narrative, you could go set up a pair PUSDC PDI. And you just use
or PUSDT. If one goes to one,
but you go set that up right on PulseX.
Exactly.
And so your $1,000, if this comes true, is $90K. Is that not a good enough hit?
Exactly.
Right.
And I think this is why I want to give credit again to Sammy for this. I think he has a term that he used that I like. It's kind of funny. He calls them lottery ticket. And I think that's important because he talks a lot of tongue in cheek and cool. But the point for those who missed it is that, again, you don't bet the whole bag. You treat it like a scratch ticket, like a lottery ticket. You put something in there, but you don't go all crazy because if it wins, it wins. If it loses, well, it was worth the risk, right? It's like you play VC a little bit to some degree.
Yeah.
But some people, they don't get that, and then they go put their whole bag, and then when the thing blow up, then they're like, oh my God.
Do you know how much HEX I lost since we started Impulse Chain?
None.
Right? You know why? Because I was ticked, right? Now, I have these kind of comments come through every single day from people like, I mean, listen, they're different. I like to break it up into different business models, call it whatever the hell you want to call it, but of course, I come from this passive income kind of like an idea that I'm going to use HEX and HEX ladders, blah blah. That's why I have that. I did really well by getting picking up 1 million PDI for 1 million pulse. It was really good. And by the way, I was able to swap that 1 million PDI for 1 million HEX. That was great. But there are a whole bunch of other things, just like, and I know some people had extreme belief in PDI in the beginning and still do, right?
And there's nothing wrong with that.
I'm not taking away from that, but there's a lot of other things that I just can like connect the two together, Kareem, and be like, oh yeah, so this other XYZ token, I'm going to do that one too because it could give me 10,000 more, right? But they don't all hit. And the thing about it is and some people are really good at doing it, but there's lots and lots and lots of those, and they all have different levels of risk. Yeah. And so I think your point is correct. Risk adjusted.
Thank you.
And planning too. Actually having a plan. Like if you don't have a plan and you see green candles or red candles, you're gonna like the emotion kicks in and you make bad decisions. Right?
It does. Well, you know what's nice about having a HEX ladder is I've made no decisions about my HEX ladder except for when it comes out.
Right? Easy mode.
Easy peasy, right? No reportable events, no trading.
No stress from that.
And there is a lot less stress from it. And I'm not trying to convert anybody who's listening, guys. You guys do whatever you want to do. In fact, in my world, I admit and understand that I need people to go trade and lose value in order for the pulse chain to gain value, right? So
exactly.
That will make its way into HEX. So that makes me happy.
Amen. And just to reiterate, the most important thing that you said, which I think is so important, is again, people need to understand risk adjusted. It's very important. Understand risk reward ratio, because if you don't, it's like the people that go to Kareem, I'm going to go do ratio trading. I'm like, bro,
most of these people are like, Crispy's a pussy. He's too afraid to take a risk. That's what it is, right?
Yeah,
they don't even
it's all projecting. It's all gaslighting and projecting because they want you to go because they think, oh, he has the bag. Let's go. It's with me. You probably seen it. Everybody's seen it. Like literally every fucking dip, there's always a guy in this Twitter, whatever, that's gonna say, "Oh, Kareem is dumping on us." And I'm like, bro, the why that's public. Like, go see it. Like it's state. Like it's just like, what are we talking about? Oh, by the way, have you guys seen today? That was cool. 14. Almost 15 HEX per t-shirt. That was cool. Shout out to Godwell. I heard it's him that did the good accounting.
It was
$6 billion
well,
I
don't think he did the good accounting. I think
somebody did for him, I guess.
Somebody did it for him. Shout out to Com.
Delay.
They did it through the Com platform, and got a couple. I don't know
120 million
how many trillion Com they got for free. Yeah, that was pretty benevolent of him. I had a double take on it though, right? Because I was thinking, man, it's not that late. It's only a couple weeks. It really, even though I know all the numbers and I did the math, right? And I went and did the math afterwards.
Yeah.
I still couldn't get my head around how that could be 120 million in penalties.
Well,
but it is. I did the math. Yeah.
It's probably because what people don't understand is that, first of all, the grace period is only 2 weeks, right? So that becomes a game of percentage after that. But chances are, it's 2 weeks grace period. Then, about, 1% a week or something like that.
Yeah, so it's 1%. But it ate into the principal. Because only a 60-day stake.
Exactly.
And I was so that's what kind of baffled me, because I was like, it can't be that much. But yeah, it was.
Yep. Because when you do a 60-day stake, 1 day is not like your typical quarter or third of a percent. Like if you were doing like annualized, that's what people don't understand. It's like having a 50% stake percentage on a 2-year stake is not the same thing as 50% on a 10-year stake, right? So people need to know there's a ratio, the math on that. So when you have literally somewhere around 60 days and you're 21 day late, let's say the first 14 is free, you're 7 days late, but then you have to do the math, the ratio of 7 out of 60. That becomes a bigger percentage. And that's when the penalty hits you. Because people think linearly, like, it's based on the 365. No. It was based on the duration of the stake. Because the stake was only 60 days, that's 7-day ratio. No, it's based on that, because it's a game of percentage. That's 7-day ratio.
Yeah, but it's percent of the whole thing. That's what kills it.
That's true.
It was
percentage of the whole thing, but once again, based on 60 days, because that's what moves the needle. When you have a 30-day stake, 1 day moves at a certain ratio, right? 1 out of 30. When you have 1 year stake, 1 day percentage ratio of completion moves at 1 out of 3.
Let me see if I can translate what I think you're saying.
Yeah.
He earned so little yield because it was just a 60-day stake that the penalties immediately start eating into the principal.
Exactly, because also the duration was very, very low. Now, that being said, what we call little, let's not forget, it's 3.6 billion HEX. You get the
let me tell you, 120, it's a shame for me to say this, 126 million.
It's almost like I earned yield
than I've ever seen before.
Exactly. But for people watching, let me do an easy math example, very simple. Imagine it's a 100-day stake, right? Which means every day it moves 1%, right? Now, all of a sudden, let's say if you do a 50-day stake, the same example, that means every 1 day the thing moves by 2% because it's a little bit shorter to get to the 100% completion. So now imagine 60 days. So it's a little bit above a 1% plus penalty per day. Then you take that and then you multiply by 7 because the first 14
I don't think
days,
that's how it works.
Wait, it was based on a 60-day stake, man.
I think we, without doing the math, we can just say 1% a week penalty after the 2
Well, yeah,
years.
roughly.
Of the total amount of HEX staked and accrued, but it's not like if I do like a 1 day stake and then I'm a day late, I don't lose like 100%.
No, I'm not saying that.
My HEX, I lose 1% of my HEX.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that. What I was saying that is how the completion bar works. The percentage completion. It's based on how many days is the total amount of stake. That's what I'm saying. The how fast it moves per day. If you have a 50-day stake, every day completion moves the completion bar by 2%. If you have a 100-day stake, every day completion moves by 1%. That's what I was explaining to the audience. But yeah, you're right. The math on the emergency is very simple. 14 days, you get the grace period, and then about 1% a week. But again, 1% of 3.6 billion. So,
that's the late, not the emergency, because the emergency is when you're early.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he was late. I'll use the term emergency, my bad. But basically, he didn't end it on time. But yeah,
different kind of emergency.
We just thank you. Exactly, different kind of emergency. We say thank you. Obviously, half of it goes forever in the big pool. That's also cool. Never to be sold. I like that as well. And yeah, the payout per T-share was good today. So we say thank you.
Yeah, I mean, in theory, I was thinking about this, Kareem. I have to go find out from somebody. I think it's accurate that all of the HEX that went to the OA now bumps up the payout because it's quote unquote minted. I think it does get counted. That was a little unclear to me in my head, right? That would be the case because it's clear to me if the whole thing was ended, all of the rewards would have been minted. But in this case, only the penalty was minted. So I wanted to take a look at that. I think just it's a detail that nobody else cares about. But but the thing I was thinking about with that is that with what's going on is, remember, every time more HEX is minted, that means that the constant number that for the daily inflation multiplied the number of HEX that exist increases the payout. And because so that means that for the same number of T-shares or shares, the payout per T-share goes up. And when the T-shares are also going down at the same time, it goes up even further. And so I don't know if I can call it yet, but I think we are in the beginnings of the hockey stick for the payout. I think that we're just getting to the inflection point. And hey, listen, maybe I won't.
We're getting a double whammy right now, which is cool, especially on HEX. For those who are following what he's saying, you can clearly see that on HEX because again, a lot of the HEX got emergency end stake over there, and a lot of the obviously staking, and it's not happening at the same rate because we're below 9% stake over there. It's like 8.75 right now, and the other one on PHEX is because that's where the new stakes are mainly created is like 9.8%. So which is about where we have always been, but on HEX it's going down even faster. So that's what also helped shoot up payout per T-share, which is really really cool.
Yeah, the payout's a little bit higher. We may have just seen, somebody had put in chat a few moments ago, we may have just seen an adjustment to that makes them almost really close, that the base will be the same. But it doesn't really matter. That could be exactly the same. We don't need a parity discussion. But yeah, I mean, potentially, right, they could really rocket upwards at this point. Because we did lose with that removal out of the pool. Because it wasn't the T-shares still exist. It's just now it's a good accounted stake. That is 4,000 less T-shares.
Yep. So those T-shares are out now. All of a sudden, all of our payout goes up, which is good. And the cool thing is, after it's good accounted, literally by the name and accounted in the system, now we know what the global total is. So which then gets hits by the 369, and then now we just get even better. And if the trend continue, oh man, we're gonna have getting better and better payout. But I think at some point, once we start pumping again, like I said, behavioral back to the 3-4 cents range, I think number of T-shares is gonna start.
It's just stupid. It's gonna work. But I think you're right. Well, I guess I don't know for sure because I make all sorts of assumptions in my head too. I wish people had gotten really cheap HEX.
But
so
it's like chasing green candle. Everybody knows you're supposed to buy on a red candle, but what do they do for the most part? I mean, a few do understand that, but what does everybody else do? They wait for the green candle to then start for more buy. It's the same thing with staking. They should be staking as everybody emergency end stake or leave the pool because they'll get a greater payout. But what do? They don't. They wait for more stakers to show up. And the reason why more stakers are showing up is because prices start to rise. So now, I should stake because I get a bigger yield because I got more money now.
Yeah, that is the case, right? Because I'll tell you why. This is why people should be listening to me now, but don't listen to me. And that's okay. I mean, some people do, but it's because in their head, when they do the math, $1 is a big number. And so if you're telling them you're getting paid $1 per T-share every day, they're like, oh, that's so great. Right. But if you're telling them you're getting 10 cents, they're like, whatever. I can't. How many 10 cents do I need? And they don't do the next level math. So that's how that gets fueled. So I do agree with you like that, right? Because what's 10 cents a day? Human calculator, fast Abdoul. 10 cents a day is what? $36 a year. Is that
$36.50? I believe.
Yeah. So I
Not
mean, it's
including
like,
interest if it's compounding, but yeah.
yeah. So if you're talking about a payout like that, people are like, God, what the hell are you guys talking about, right?
But here's
But
the funny part, right? The
yeah,
funny
but
part is this.
even $10 more, 10, even 10 times that is a lot more,
Oh yeah.
And
And,
so when
and
you talk about $1, yeah, you got it.
And they're making one important fallacy. This is something that I teach back in the day. It's only the 10 cents a day as of the price of today. But if you're not planning on selling today, it's not 10 cents a day. The same way my dream account back in the day, I told people was paying me $30 a day.
Yeah.
And today, those same $30 are still, even at this price, worth close to $1,000 a day. Why is that? Because I never sold. So those same HEX that they look at, oh, it's 10 cents. Well, if you're not selling today and you're not selling on the period and you're accumulating the HEX, all of a sudden prices shoot up. Fun fact, today we're up like 18 some percent.
Dude, it's going to be crazy. Wait till it happens. I can't wait for it to happen because I know that T-shares are going to go to $1 million a T-share. That's my belief.
They're confusing HEX accumulation in terms
of it's so crazy. It's so crazy that that'll happen because you know all these other fundamentals go on, and I know people who, you guys who are listening, hold on a minute, that don't care. We'll get back to your regularly scheduled program, but the thing about it is that people are going to have a harder time at $1 HEX and an increased T-share rate to make these stakes, and they'll limit themselves and they'll hold back and all this other stuff, and then suddenly you're in this other situation where I think when T-shares get above 10,000 again, which could happen very quickly. I mean, it already happened, right? So we could be back up there into $20,000, $50,000 a T-shirt. People just won't be doing the staking. You'll thank me now. Well, they'll thank me then for staking now. That happens, man.
Exactly. I mean, we're already flirting really close to 40,000 HEX per T-share. So if you want to,
it's about 40,000.
Yeah. So at $1, it's roughly $40,000 T-share. So you divide that by 4, roughly at 25 cents. You're already back to 10K. Which again, last time around, it was basically all-time high. That's when we hit that $10,000 HEX per T-share.
You want to know when I think that the rates will go up? I don't know if they're going to go up because Godwell didn't end his last stake. If that was a Godwell stake, it didn't end his last stake. But
he always does it in February. There's always mass every year, around my birthday, February 3rd, and then the second week. There's always a massive, because it's on the ladder. There's a massive from Godwell and obviously some OA stuff too. That always ends around February, which makes sense because alt season, Ethereum usually cooks around that time. Just like 4 years ago, or when Trump got in, you get the 2 weeks dump first week of January. Then you get the inauguration, which is, by the way, next week's going to be fire. So many cool stuff. Executive orders are coming up the wazoo. So this is why markets start to pump right now because they're preparing for that. Gensler is going to be out. Literally, he did his exit interview today. Did you guys saw that? Fucking hilarious. And then on his way, he's trying to be like the previous guy. He suits Elon for some security stuff. Bro, just get out. Like, we're done with you. Can't wait for David Sachs to come in. Maddie did met him. That's pretty cool. But again, I watched the All In podcast since that thing started. Like, David Sachs is a guy that's very practical. He hates overreaching of government and BS. Let the people work, give them the guidelines they need, and let's just get on with our lives. So it's like there's so many bullish things coming up just from that alone. The only thing that's been kind of derailing us a little bit, sorry, I give you a little macro because I wasn't here the last couple of weeks, is just the fact that inflation be playing games on us that most people didn't anticipate. So we have a little bit of stagflation. Things that were supposed to go down start rising up. So Federal Reserve lowered the number of potential cuts that was supposed to come in 2025. That's why the market got spooked. I hit the stock market first because things are overpriced, because it's underpriced only if we lower interest rate, aka cheap money. The moment we're not doing that and rates are rising, it's not bueno. Therefore, price needs to go down because also stronger dollar. Higher interest rate.
Hey, Kareem, do you mind if we come back to the macro, which I think we could get into a great discussion about, but I want to make sure we can wrap up our discussion of HEX right now because it's been so good. And I know Fast Abdoul has something to add, and I'm sure ChrispyMan might have some final thoughts on kind of the goings on in HEX at least.
I have a 2-second thing. About 1,200 HEX per T-share increase on Valentine's Day, roughly around that time. Right after. That's what Kareem's talking about.
The big stake, right?
Yeah.
Some are OA, some are Godwell. Every year.
Yeah, I'm only looking at Godwell. Or I should say non-OA.
No way. So
Cool.
that's awesome.
Cool. I got a dgen play I want to share with you guys. Super dgen. Go ahead, just terribly dgen.
It's all love.
Yeah. You'll love it. You'll love it. Could I share the screen I have in the back, Matty?
There it is.
There we go. Okay. So this is a new liquidity pool / farm that has been created on Bucks. And it contains only things that are equivalent to HEX. So we have
Interesting.
HEX from Ethereum paired against HEX from the Pulse chain.
I like that.
Maximus DAO from Pulse chain, Maximus DAO from Ethereum. Deci from Ethereum, Deci from Pulse chain, Lucky from Pulse chain, and Lucky from Ethereum, all paired against each other, right? So there's, what is it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 tokens in this pair. And that means it's the equivalent, and they all pair against each other. So it's the same as if it was 28 V2 liquidity pools in this one pool. And it will absorb the fees of 28 liquidity pools. Furthermore, this pool has an unusually high fee that it charges. It's set at 3% instead of the usual 0.3%.
Boy,
So-
oh boy.
When things swap through this pool, it's really going to generate fees. And I think between these 8 tokens, there's going to be a lot of swapping through the pool. Just between PHEX and EX alone, like anytime, there has to be a more than 3% decrease or increase in the price, but it's going to generate fantastic fees. So we call it.
Who's gonna come swap this? Who? I like the
It's
concept.
going to get swapped every day by the DEX aggregators on Pulse Chain, of which we have multiple now. So
Right. Because if you just swap from one to one other, it's going to route through that
Yes.
possibly, right?
There's 28 combinations here that could be swapped that the DEX aggregators will hit. So any one of these tokens paired to any one other token in this pair, or even if somebody is trying to buy and they're using a DEX aggregator like Pitius or 9X, if somebody's trying to buy PX, if the price is low enough here, it could move through one of these other things to get to PX, even if they're buying Pulse to PX, right? So there's lots of chances for this to earn fees. And on top of that, it's also a farm. So it's going to pay bonus FUX and 2FUX tokens. But everything you're putting in here has something to do with HEX. The Maximus DAO tokens are tokenized liquid HEX stakes. So we have 7 years, 10 years, and 15-year HEX stakes paired against HEX on Pulse Chain and Ethereum. So it's all HEX, but there's going to be fees and there's going to be yield. So I'm very curious to see how this one works out. I'm curious to see how this 3% fee, which is unusually high, is going to pay out to, and it doesn't charge you that to go into the pool. That's just when a swap moves through the pool, it won't move through the pool unless the 3% fee is within the range. So it's just the people who are swapping who are paying that. And it'll only move through that pool if it's the best deal.
So it's not one of those kind of like low version of proof of weekends where you come in and you get automatically hit 5%. It's just only if you do the swap and then you hit.
It's not like a tax token, and it's not like one of those farms you're talking about where you pay 5% to get in. You don't pay extra to get into this. It's just when swaps move through the pool, it charges more to the swappers.
Gotcha.
People who are buying and selling. So to go into the pool, there's no additional fee. You should be very careful going into a pool with 8 tokens like this, because you can pay slippage if you don't do it properly. Hit me up if somebody needs help with that. But basically, when you go into a pool like this, you have to put in the right amounts of every token. And it has, there's a feature that helps you do this. So if I put in just the one token here, I only have PHEX in this wallet, but how much Maximus tokens do I need? I can press proportional suggestion and it will tell me how much I need. And I should go buy them before I enter the pool so that I'm not paying slippage, right? So there's tools, because you could pay slippage going into the pool if you don't have the right amounts of all of these tokens. But if you have the right amount of every token to go into the pool in the right proportions, then you wouldn't pay any slippage to go into the pool. Or
that's what that weight is for, right? Those percentages, 20, 10, 15.
Exactly.
That's what it's for. Okay.
For people I call it the HEX parity maxi pool, because it's like 20% PX paired against 20% EHEX, right? Against each other. So on the FUX exchange, they call it WHEX for some reason, but that's HEX from Ethereum. So it's like if these come to parity, which some people believe will be the case, then you would have the exact same amount of both of these in this pool in the end. I think they might not come to parity anytime soon, but I think there'll be a lot of swapping between all these pairs, and then it's going to pay a lot of fees in additional tokens that will be compounded in the form of HEX one way or another. How I look at it, and this isn't financial advice. This is just my viewpoint on this thing. And if this farm is also going to pay out other bonus tokens, I think it's a win. So this is this is something I was thinking about for a while. I was going to do it with just PHEX and EHEX.
I was just about to ask you that. Don't you have just that?
This is better because of what I talked about with the 28 pairs that are combined in there, right? There's 28 ways that this could swap through the pool. So the fees that it's going to accumulate at 3% per swap is going to be outrageous. So that's what I think is going to happen. We'll have to see what actually happens. Maybe nobody will want to go into this pool. Maybe they won't want to risk having a different kind of HEX than they have right now. I think some people will risk it. Liquidity providing is an advanced play. Make sure you understand this. Make sure you understand how to enter a pool like this and to leave a pool like this and how to stake it to earn extra. But I think it's not boring. And part of what you have here is tokenized HEX stakes, right? So when you're holding Maximus DAO tokens, you're holding, with Maxi, it's a 15-year HEX stake that you own a part of. So I think it's another way to play the game where, in my opinion, you're going to end up with more HEX. There's going to be minimal impermanent loss in terms of the total amount of HEX you have, but there could be impermanent loss in the amount of HEX from Pulse Chain versus HEX from Ethereum that you have. And that should be definitely considered. So yeah, advanced play for advanced users, but I want everybody to know what's out here. There's always something new with HEX.
Nice. And one more time, like Pat said, if you're going to play this game, make sure you have all the necessary token when you add the liquidity, or slippage will get you. That's very important.
Yeah, I'll show you right here. So if I put in I got $126 worth of HEX in this wallet, right? And if I only put that in, I could still enter the pool with just this. And what the protocol does, FUX, which is a fork of Balancer, it will balance it by swapping in the background to fill in the other boxes. But we can see here at the bottom, I would pay 8.19% slippage for it to do all those swaps there. So, and sometimes if it's a low amount, like if let's say it was 0.5%, I'm like, I'm going to do it. But if it's a high amount like that, you can go to the DEX aggregator, you can go to Pitius, and you can do the swaps yourself to make sure you have the right amount. And since I can press this button and see like, oh, okay, I need $30 of the Lucky from Ethereum in order to do that, I can go out and seek this and try to trade in a more efficient route where I'm not paying that much slippage until this price impact number gets down to 0 at the bottom. It keeps, as I put in the right tokens, that number keeps going down until it hits the 0. So yeah, do it smart, do it slowly. Don't press the buttons too fast. It's probably one of the biggest mistakes I've seen is people are like, next. They keep hammering the button and like, I'm trying to do it. Like, no. Read the disclaimer. Look at the numbers. You're dealing with money, even though it doesn't have a dollar sign on it. It's money, and and do it in a smart way if you choose to do it. But you can also choose not to do it, and that is totally valid. But I think stuff like this is interesting. This is part of what HEX is about, is what can I do with it? And like the Maximus DAO guys did a great job with giving you something to do with HEX. The Actuator Protocol guys did a great job giving you something to do with HEX. And this is another one of the toys. So enjoy or don't enjoy as you choose. What do you think, Kareem? Are you all in on this one?
All in, maybe not, but I'm definitely intrigued, and I think again, it's definitely better to play liquidity providing game once you know what you're doing versus just over trading on stuff and getting wrecked. That makes no sense, because at least with LP, it's still some level of what HEXs teaches: delay gratification, place the thing, let it play, let the people play, collect your fees. You know what I mean? There's some level of delayed gratification. It's a different way of staking. Obviously, you can remove it at any time. This is why the yield is not as good as HEX yield. But then again, it's a similar ethos You allow the game to be played. And if there's certain coins you want to support, it's one of the best way because you get to support for the game to be played, for the slippage to not be as bad. And then, if the coins are mooning, then guess what? You're winning too. Imagine if Abdoul created another scenario. I'm just giving an example where it's similar, but like it's just all the core tokens together like that in a basket. You know what I mean? Let's say HEX, PHEX, Pulse X, Inc. I'm just giving an example. And you happen to have all coins, then it's the same thing. You get to support it, and you're less likely to be tempted to, let me dump my coin and chase the new shiny thing over there and then wreck. And then next thing you know, you're like, why did I do that? Versus, right, when you literally like stop yourself from wrecking yourself, right? Protecting yourself from yourself, right? Stuff that since the back in the day, me and Matt used to talk about all the time. It's literally this kind of human psychology, proper behavior, even stuff that I used to do back in the day when I used to do my sales. Like I'm making money by Monday, I wire the money out, do my investment, leave just $100 in the account. So I get hungry again to go chase money. I just got back, boom, back to work with John, generate money so we can catch more of this dip. It's the same thing. Because if you don't do it like that, the moment you get wrecked, you will really, really, we've all been there, nobody's perfect, but you will really, really feel stupid. You're like, man, why did I do that? And then you realize, I put myself in a vulnerable spot because I had all this liquid lying around. And like my parents would teach me back in the day, 99% of the time, when you have too much free time, you will get in trouble because you got all that free time. Let's go do this. And then you're the wrong place at the wrong time, and then bad thing happens. Versus if you are busy, chasing your purpose, working hard, doing all this other stuff. And when I say bad thing, it's not necessarily like, you're going to get hurt, but like hanging out with people you shouldn't be hanging out with, you know what I mean? Talking to people who are bad for you or give you bad advice or literally losing money because you don't value it. It's just there. You don't know where to put it. And then next thing you know, well, guess what? Money is like a jealous girlfriend. You stop taking care of it, it goes somewhere else.
It goes away, yeah. Quick disclaimer, just on, like you mentioned that, like liquidity farming, it's like a less degen way to make money. But you have to remember that every token that's in a liquidity pair, you better trust it, right? Because
absolutely.
If one of them rugs, it's going to be bad. You're going to lose the other one effectively or most of it. So, like that's why I like a pair like this because it's like a bunch of things that personally I trust. Like, okay, HEX from Ethereum, HEX from Pulse Chain, Maximus DAO tokens that contain HEX. Like I trust all the tokens in that 8-token pair. But if there was one of those tokens I was like, this one's kind of iffy, then I would not touch it, right? Because that one token could rug the other tokens.
Exactly.
That's why it's very important to understand the whole process.
Yep. You're only as strong as your weakest link. That's basically what Fast is saying. So keep that in mind. And again, I'm glad you reminded because I kind of almost took it for granted a little bit. Is that I only liquidity pair coins that I trust. Because if I wouldn't trust them, I wouldn't buy them. Therefore, I wouldn't have the coin to provide the liquidity. Never just buy a coin that you don't really trust. And then you LP it, that's even worse. Because if you start to panic and you want to get out, by the time you do all the gymnastic and remove this, and it already tanked. All the bots got in. By the time you swap, you're down 50%. There's no more liquidity. You're just looking at it like,
Well, you are the liquidity if you're LPing it. So you want to make sure you understand that process. Of course, when you have HEX paired against HEX, like the risk is slightly different, but like you need to at least understand that it's going to shift and it won't always be in your favor. And it's not a weekend thing, right? Like if you go into that pool, like when you go in that pool, Kareem, make sure you go in for at least 3 months.
Exactly. Because if your end game is, hey, we're in a bull market, which is already very important, which statistically in a balanced probability in the coin that you trust means that they will all rise together, bonding liquidity. Now, of course, some going to rise faster than others. You don't have to pick. You just need to know that they're run. You know what I mean? Like right now, EXPX, perfect example, right? If we start to run, most likely they will both run. Obviously, one is more valuable than the others, but they already at a ratio where it's like if one really pumps 30%, the other one is most likely going to pump at least 30% or sometimes 40% if it's a little bit more undervalued. But the thing is, like, you win it, it goes in that direction. The same way back in the day, when people were asking me if I were to LP out of the core coin, which were, and then they're still winning to this day. I think they are the best, the most undervalued. It's Pulse X with Inc. Because I explained, throwback, clip this if you forgot, because Inc. is the leading indicator because you need that as an incentive for the LP to be played. The higher the Inc. goes, the higher the APR or the pool's going to be so people can do and play LP with the other coins. So that's why when you see liquidity come in, a lot of the time, right, Ink pump first, right? Pulse X follows. And then obviously sometimes some of the pulse get rotated to the pulse, and then the pulse get rotated into the hex because it's just, the bounding liquidity and then the ratio trading to end up pushing the thing up. But most likely, with all that volume being created and ink being the leading indicator, pulse X benefit the most from it, because not only it's getting purchased, but then also thanks to volume and buyback and burn, which is really awesome, it helps pushing that too. So when you do LP or those two things in the bull market, chances are you're going to do extremely well. Or, core coins on the value, you're going to do extremely well. And like Abdoul said, if you do it for a longer period of time, 2-3 months, not only you can really catch a run, right? What's the point of selling on the first double when you can have 2-3 doubles? You're going to feel really stupid. Like, oh man, I could have 400%. I only sold after 100 or 150. And you're collecting fees, which is really cool. More ink for you as well. So
yeah, you're getting more tokens in your wallet, right? But like you're right, if ink goes up, then it's going to pull up the other core coins because people will be FOMOing to get into that farm. Like a $40 or $80 ink token would mean that people would be rushing out to actually buy Pulse X and Pulse and HEX and anything else that's in those farms. It might even up the price of Ethereum because there's Ethereum in there.
Exactly. Oh my God, I told you this
want to get in that farm.
You give me a $30, $40 ink, I'm telling you, same day, clip this. The bridge gonna be saturated.
Oh, yeah.
All of a sudden, people that even hate us are gonna bridge because they can't hate money. They can talk all they want, but again, just like action talk louder than words. That thing comes up, watch. Everybody wants to be on Pulse Chain.
Yeah, and it could. There's certainly things like Ink has code. It could end up being a DAO token for Pulse X. We don't know, right? So that's one of my bullish scenarios is suddenly there's an announcement that Ink is the DAO token for Pulse X, and it's used to vote on which token pairs can become farms on the Pulse X exchange. And then all of a sudden, everybody would want to have their say, and they'd want to stockpile Ink token, and then we'd have a silly price. Now, that's not financial advice. I just think that's something that technically could happen. And that, if Ink was the chosen one for a DAO token, then probably some people would want to hold that, I'm thinking. Might be some value, might be some bribes to be had.
Great game theory there. And Digital Money Marcus had the same question I did when he's saying here, he's at work, checked Dex screener. Why is HEX and Pulse Chain pumping 10 to 15% so quickly? What did I miss? Well, as far as we can tell, there's no news, just pure pump.
Pump it. Post HEX conference pump.
Right. Well, not even that. Just literally there is no reason other than there are more buyers than sellers. Like the sellers got exhausted for a minute, which is good news. And I could jokingly say that Richard tweeted something really simple and obscure about how doing the right thing is better than doing the wrong thing or something. No,
it's even better.
Just took
doing
off.
The right thing is better than doing the wrong thing well.
Right.
Because some people are stubborn. They're like, oh, yeah, it's the wrong thing. But no, but I can do it better. It's the right thing.
So what do you guys think he was talking about?
Well, I mean, there's so many analogies that I can think of, but I think part of it is what Elon used to talk about all the time, which is good, where it's like some people, care more about, the act of doing good versus, talking about doing good versus the act of really, really doing something good. Because some people will be like, oh, I mean well, and then I tweet and then I don't follow through, or it should be good enough. And then people should not expect me to do more than that. Versus no, like if you're gonna do it well, follow through, stand on it. You know what I mean? Like, because if not, you lose credibility, and then after a while, people are just gonna stop trusting you and then stop, quote unquote, hanging around with you. Because you can say you mean well, but at the end of the day, people lost money. Like, you should try to take your time, do all the due diligence, don't rush things, because then you rush things and then something bad happened. It's easy to say, oh, you know what, I tried. And it's true, technically you tried, but people still gonna have that bitter taste in their mouth. So if you're gonna do it right, do it well, take your time, be thorough, like act like you don't want to have a second chance, like try to do it right the first time. I know it's hard, but try it.
I think he's talking about himself and the Pulse chain, right? Like, because there's lots of, I could come up with 100 suggestions for things Richard Hart could do better or could have done to pump the number, or so on and so forth. But he's saying he's gonna do it right. So, yeah, maybe.
And sometimes plot twist, some more wisdom talk. Doing it right sometimes doesn't necessarily mean maximum profit. Doing right sometimes mean, and this is back to the Alti example, creating something that's balanced. So it's not creating something where you win too much in the beginning, but then you don't win long term, and then the thing doesn't have longevity. You got to find a balance to have something for the early people, the middle people, and the late people. So no matter what, it has that longevity. You have to have that wisdom to see it like that, because if not, it's not going to last long. And then true success, everybody knows, it's not just designed based on how well you did today or even 5 years in. It's like 20, 30 years from now, are you still successful? That will be true success. You have to have that longevity. Like, oh, wow, he's been doing this for how many years? Winning for how many years? Boom, that's true success. No, like, you had a nice run, 3 year, 5 year, and then poof.
Look, I can't think of too many times when Richard just like tweets something obscure. Like, if anything, it's like a diode, like a truth diode type, thing, or it's just fun to be able to read into his tweets, like whether they're meant to be obscure or not. But like in this case, I wonder if the question of doing the right thing has to do with like settling with the corrupt SEC versus waiting more than 60 days for the judge to hopefully give us a fair outcome, which is totally independent from all the political things going on. And I want to say, like, at maybe 1:48 p.m., maybe we didn't have the news yet today that like the SEC is suing Elon. Somebody could correct me on that if I'm wrong. Yeah, but that's what he tweets about next. So if there is like a connection there, then there's two reasons to be tweeting about something legal today, because we're waiting to hear about the HEX case. We're waiting to see if it gets dismissed based on jurisdiction not sticking. And then Richard goes on to tweet like in his next tweet saying, I tried to save Elon Musk from getting sued, but I think he didn't see my message. Fun fact, we use the same law firm. I'm not a lawyer, just trying to help Elon out. And
that's fine. That is
then he
fact.
Quotes himself from April 2022, replying to Elon to say, remember to file your SEC 13G filing to a 13D as you'll be executing control. Okay. So that's like what Gary Gensler was like going after him for. It was like something having to do with like the public filings of him taking over Twitter. And then, Richard is like citing the complaint. Is this the complaint against Elon that's brand new, and it shows Elon's lawyers are the same as Richard's, which are also the same as Trump's. Nice.
Yeah. It's a great point, because there's a lot of similarities, and I'm sure Elon probably is going to read that message or have read that message, because again, it shows that the same fact that they have the same lawyer, it's a big deal. Because I read somewhere that these type of lawyers at this level, they don't really care so much about how much money you have, because they already know they're the top of the top. They care about reputation. They care about like, is this a guy worth defending? You know what I mean? Because I think that's the main thing. They know they most likely, if they put all their resources, they can win. But it's like they have that extra morale. When somebody told me, I was like, oh wow, that's pretty cool. So this goes to shows that there's a lot of interconnection there. And again, one of the lawyer or one of the firm is also going to be appointed some of the roles in the government too, in Trump cabinet. So there's a good connection there. And
I mean, if his lawyers, if his lawyers are like, helping decide the outcome of crypto's future in America, that's also going to bring them a lot more business and a lot more like reputation and clout. Like, and so, yeah, I think like there's a win-win there when it comes to like the best being represented by the best.
Yep. And one simple fact, which is really cool, when he says again about doing the right thing, is like, guys, just try to imagine in a not so distant future when this whole thing is behind us, we're gonna have clarity no matter what, whether they end up in, you know, dismissal, partial dismissal, and then some type of settlement, whatever. The point is that at some point this is gonna be behind us. We're gonna have clarity. We're not gonna get sued multiple times after that, because again, the things are already out and done and everything is good. And we're just going to be able to cruise from there. DeFi is going to be a thing and it's here to stay. And what I will paraphrase on top of what Manny has said, again, this is my speculation, when he say also doing the right thing versus doing the wrong thing, well, is that if we really, really wanted to, right, think about it. We're pure DeFi. If we really wanted to, we can just say after SEC and we'll do what we want, and which we kind of do, but like, you know, really start moving the money and whatever, and just be like, yeah, catch us if you can. You know, we can play that game. We definitely could, but we just say, you know, we're going to beat you in court, open court, doing the right thing, not run away, none of that, clean, and then we're going to go after it and then, you know, effed up everybody in a good way and start winning again. And I that's my speculation on top of what Maddie said, because I'm like, that sounds to me like that. Like, it's not because you have the resource to say F you, because some people have done that, you know what I mean? And I'm not here to judge, you know, to some degree. Sometimes people do what they think is right. Like No CZ escaped a little bit, but then he built Binance so big, and then he paid the $5 billion fine. So some people go at that right. Some people just want to be like, you know what? No, I'm going to just beat you outright and then go.
I mean, like the technical consideration in this court case is like, if it gets dismissed based on jurisdiction, the SEC could come back with another complaint. However, the politics has changed, and the SEC is very political, even though they're not supposed to be. Like the overreach, that's been a major issue of this election. Trump is having a ball. He's having basically a dance, like fancy, you know, dinner that he's charging $100,000 to $1 million for people to attend in connection with his, you know, inauguration. And that's being called the crypto ball,
because you got our money like the crypto people.
where he's being called the first crypto president of all time. And so this is going to show you that, you know, the SEC is probably not going to get to act the same way that they've been acting. Even the way that they're acting today might not happen next week on Tuesday. And so, I think that's a really good forward-looking thing, to where a dismissal at this stage for all the assets, that would mean more than if we were in an adversarial, democratically run, you know, like corruption as normal type of situation, where the SEC could come back with more, you know, corrupt allegations based on the law, based on how it works. Now, if you do, you know, get a partial dismissal or a non-dismissal at this stage, the benefit of that is that you get to make case law. You get to argue the facts of whether HEX and Pulse Chain are securities, which, based on like the timeline that the SEC is presenting and based on like the facts that they've presented so far, is an extremely weak argument. And so you get to like, you know, basically close the book once and for all. If you win, once the substance of the case is being discussed versus just the jurisdiction.
Absolutely. I would never forget that quote from that lawyer. That was so cool. It says, Your Honor, I'm not even sure if there's even meat on this bone.
Right. Which is,
there's no bone. There's nothing. It's just a waste of time. So let's just
which shows such a deep understanding of like how HEX is different than other cryptos, where it does leave meat on the bone, and the SEC like doesn't have a good
and
case.
Perhaps speculation, Carroll is just probably waiting for that perfect timing. Trump change and then drop, because she has 90 days. Technically 90 days from the original days is the 29th of January.
She has however long she wants.
Oh, okay. Well, but they
effect.
say on average 60 to 90 days. If we go based on that potential time,
Right.
no guarantee.
Okay, there's no hard cutoff time.
So the specific comment from Nuclear Herbs, the nuance is that like the reason why you don't typically get rulings longer than 90 days is because that means that they're so backed up that they need more judges there. And so like basically if they get too backed up, then they never get caught up, was his reasoning for why we could still see within 90 days play out, is because if you're running longer than 90 days, then the court is thinking to itself, well, you know, we're never going to get caught up type thing.
Yeah. So we might as well just drop all this stuff.
Right?
Well, no, but his other observation was that she must be putting a lot of effort into explaining why she's deciding what she's deciding, which is, you know, which that's a better position to be in long term. And so I was joking with him because we did a discussion at the HEX conference on the last day in the first hour. I was joking like, what's the rush, you know? But so there was that hour, and then he also did about maybe half an hour of commentary on Cabana's happy hour stream on this past Friday. And so those two are like, you know, the best places to find the at least video, you know, sections of like the latest legal updates. And we also talked in my panel with Nuclear Herbs about how the South Carolina class action lawsuit against HEX is like trying to move forward, and how I'm you know, I'm doing everything that I can to help make Ben Dubard the intervener, which could stop the class action from getting certified, and stop this South Carolina precedent being set of questioning whether HEX is a security or not, when it's, you know, when otherwise it wouldn't be represented unless we had Ben going in there to have standing in the case. So there's a lot of people stepping up in all kinds of places where it's, you know, I think it's a miracle. for DeFi.
Community, baby. Power community. That's the best way to explain
It's a miracle.
it. You know, and then another thing too, which I like, is that not only we're taking all the necessary steps, but again, in the balance of probability, thanks to the change in the, you know, government and changing the SEC, Gary not being there, and, you know, David Sachs, the one that's coming in, is literally very, very pro crypto, pro sensible, keyword sensible regulation, so that people know what's what. And we all know, out of all coins out there, especially those who are, you know, that we strongly believe are not security, this and that, we have, again, HEX specifically, and Pulse Chain piggyback from Ethereum, because if Ethereum is not a security, then Pulse Chain shouldn't be. And it's like all the right steps that needed to be done, all the security, all the disclosures, we know for damn sure, without a blink of a doubt, that Richard Hart prided himself to, you know, dot the I and cross the T. So once we get the sensible regulation, yes, we wanted it sooner than later, but I look at it like, at least once it's done, it will be a chapter that we can finally close and just move on. And I think this administration is also pro DeFi, which is really, really what, you know, makes me really bullish. You know, that's why I was talking about sometimes about the Aave, the compound, and all sorts of stuff, because that's what I believe will help Ethereum come back alive big time, and obviously us in the parallel moving along. So it just needs a little bit more patience. That's all. But we're moving along. We're moving on nice. Next week, a lot of fireworks. I can't wait for the first executive order. Oh my God, there's gonna be a lot of articles. Next week is gonna be busy. And I pray once again that he has, for the inauguration, the best freaking security there is. You gotta stay paranoid. It's not over. Who knows with these crazy people.
There are 4,000 police officers who are not from Washington, D.C. that are traveling to Washington, D.C. to serve for Trump's inauguration, because it's going to be the biggest of all time.
It's freaking awesome.
Yeah. How cool is that?
Powerful. That is freaking powerful. So
yeah, let's hear more about the macro situation, because it's got some people scratching their heads, and like there's bond yields are rising. Even though rates are supposed to be lowering, and it seems like the economy is like a little bit mixed up. Kareem started to like go into this earlier and was on a good track.
Nice. Well, the way it goes, and thanks for that, is because I'll get a recap for what's been happening for the past couple of weeks, right, when I was away. So is we had a set of tracks since December, right? But then again, then the data came in, and everybody's surprised, me not 100% surprised, but still to a little bit, there was a change. The first change started towards the end of December, where the unemployment rate and data came out actually, quote unquote, better than expected. And we're in this weird era where I tell you guys all the time, where good news is bad news and bad news is good news. So we're supposed to get more bad news, but we got good news. Unemployment rate was rising to almost 4.3, 4.4%, and about to hit that recessional area of 4.5 and up, where it's like, oh my God, they're going to lower rate, they're going to cheapen everything, blah, blah, blah. But guess what? Ultimately, it didn't. It actually started going down. It went back from 4.4 back to 4.1, which kind of shocked everybody. And it's messed up because it's actually a good thing. That means the economy is doing better than expected, more resilient, more jobs. People are working and going back to work. And I think it's kind of also, that's just my humble opinion, but I think it's the fact that, new administration coming in, people who are pro-Trump start to believe in the future in America, all sort of stuff. They talk about the tariff, the whatever. Again, it's not here and there, but I feel like Americans are getting that patriotism back on, and they want to go back to work. That's my observation as the macro, or why this is happening. People really want to get back to work and get this shit done. So now, because this is happening, the logic is unemployment rate is now going down. So that means the economy is doing better. People are not as suffering as much, which then means people are working, people are making money. People are making money means they're going to spend money. They spend money, they create inflation because money is circulating, right? They create inflation means that now Fed cannot lower rate, because the reasoning behind lowering the rate is you lower rate to stimulate the economy. But if the economy is already overstimulated or stimulated enough and things are cranking in, manufacturing cranking in, unemployment is low, then they don't need to intervene. Originally, we had almost potentially 5 to 6 rate cut for next year. Now, for 2025, the estimates are down to 2. Remember, they estimate because if now all of a sudden the data goes bad, then they're going to change their mind. So that kind of spooked the data, which then means, oh snap, we're not getting all the potential cut that we thought we were going to get, because the data is not as bad as we thought. That's what I mean by bad is good and good is bad, because we're doing better than expected. So then means that there's a chance that this coming months, we're not going to cut rate. It's going to stay where it's at, because also simultaneously the inflation rate, which was around 2.4. Remember, we came down from 9.7, then 3 for a while, a little bit of stagflation, then we went down 2.7, 2.4. Now all of a sudden, since last month, it's been rising. It's going back up 2.7, and there's a chance the one tomorrow is potentially going to be 2.9, which again, it shows a track record of 2.3, 2.4, 2.6. or 2.7, and then potentially 2.9. So 3 in a row rising, meaning we're getting back into stagflation, which then means that Fed can't cut rate. And if this thing continue to rise, they might actually have to raise rate again. Fortunately, they're not raising rates because the market is already spooked and the rates are already rising. The rates are rising because, like I said, we're doing better than expected. So people are in the market, the bonds are not being bought. So therefore, the rate has to rise. Think about it like a coin, or even in HEX. If people are not buying the coin, so to speak, and staking, you have to increase the incentive for the people to come buy the coin, aka the bonds. So that's why they have to rise the rate. Rate goes for 4.3, almost 4.7, to attract new investors to buy the US bond, because we need the money. So if people are not buying, bonds has to rise, because to incentivize people to come and buy. And when that happens, money comes from overseas like crazy, because we have the best rate. We have 4 point something, almost 5% Other places, they have 1%, some place negative. So as the money come from overseas, guess what happened next? DXY is rising because the more people buy dollars become strong. Dollar becomes strong. Crypto, final point in this explanation, I just explained, crypto has to go down. Strong dollar back for crypto. Because what is the ethos of crypto and Bitcoin especially? It's government can be trusted. Exactly. Government can be trusted. Dollar's going to shit. Therefore, I'm going to protect my value in crypto. Now, once the opposite starts to happen, dollars strengthen, which, by the way, means you can take your dollar and travel overseas and you'll get a crazy amount of purchasing power. But for those who are not leaving the country, it's irrelevant. Now your crypto is going down because the dollar is being strengthened. So what happened yesterday, now as new data comes in, what's called PPI and then CPI tomorrow, is we were supposed to get 0.4 in PPI, price power for the inflation, but we only got 0.2, which shows that inflation is not as bad. So that's a bullish thing. That's why Bitcoin came out of the 89,000 and rallied back up. But tomorrow we're getting CPI. That's the key. It's supposed to be potentially estimate 2.9. If that thing comes out at more than 2.9, we're gonna shoot to the downside. Now, if it hits 2.9, it's expected we're gonna continue to chill because the good momentum of Trump is gonna carry us. If we are 2.8, or 2.7, that's bullish. Bitcoin back to over 100K. If it's back to 3,600, easy, and then we're just gonna chill this to the moon. But the problem that we have now in conclusion is that right now, because the economy is doing better than expected, the inflation boogeyman is still here. We have a little bit of stagflation. And remember the Federal Reserve mandate, they need to get us to 2%. We've been done a lot of progress. We went down all the way down to 2.3. Now we're rising back towards 2.9. That's not good. So because that's not good, we aka the Fed can't lower rate because they have to make the inflation go back down again to then lower the rate. And this is also why the yields are rising, because if inflation is rising, people wants to be paid more than inflation. So if my inflation is near 3%, the bonds, the yield needs to be above that at 4 or 4.5 or 5%, because they want to have the true yield. They need to make money. They need to get that minimum 1 to 2% after inflation adjusted. So if inflation starts to trend back towards 2%, all of a sudden the yield can go down towards 3%. Why? Because that true yield of 1% is still going to be there. Because if my inflation is at 2, I can be okay with a yield of 3. If my inflation is near 3, I don't like 3% yield. I want more because I want adjusted yield to inflation. And that's really, really where the key is. So if tomorrow the inflation is not as bad, that's going to be a good sign. Trump goes into office, that can potentially be an inflationary event because, stock market excitement, all this other stuff, which can create inflation because everything's pumping. But we also do know that soon after that, they have to create the budget for 2025. And there's no money. Everybody knows that. They have to print. So the act of printing might start pushing the DXY down, which is good, which then weakens the dollar. Crypto goes up. That's a potential catalyst that is coming in. But we need to remember that because Trump is pro-stock market stuff that can create inflation. And if it creates too much inflation, we're not getting the rate cuts. And if we're not getting the rate cut, don't expect crypto to pump right away. But if we get specific crypto policies, keyword crypto policies, that we hope to get with David Sachs and all the other people and the clarification of the SEC, we can care less about inflation. We are going to pump. But we need to get crypto-specific policies so we get direct hit. It's like you're injecting the serum directly into the vein. You're not just drinking it. You're putting it into the vein. But if we're not...
they're going to be like, oh, no, we have to print more money and give it to our friends. Like, oops. So turning on the money printer is always like, an easy thing. So the strong dollar, which is like, a function of... it's really like it keeps like repeating onto itself basically because the stronger the dollar is, the more foreign debts that are held, which are dollar denominated, the more those become a burden for those countries. So they have to buy more dollars, which makes the dollar stronger, which which causes more countries to have to FOMO into the dollar in order to
Because they have dollar denominated
service
debt.
their debt. Yeah. And so, you
Spiral.
know, in order to stop this spiral from happening, then the US like just, you know, has more of a license to, you know, steal from every human on earth by like printing more dollars. So, my solution to all of this, which Trump is like welcome to implement, is to just like, you know, create an executive order to the Federal Reserve that they have to put Bitcoin into the inflation calculation. And then, you know, the price of Bitcoin will go up, which means inflation's higher, which means they need to print more money, which means Bitcoin goes up, you know, and then we can have like a positive Bitcoin spiral, which as joking as I am, is a potential outcome of like what they may or may not be planning with like a strategic Bitcoin reserve, which I still can't wrap my head around how that could be possible. But hey, somebody argued to me the other day that actually $1 trillion to buy 1 million Bitcoin for $1 million, like that's actually not a lot of money. And if they can buy it for like less than $1 million per Bitcoin, then like $100 billion is how much like the Biden administration sneezes and like gives to Ukraine. So yeah, like at the end of the day, like the government, you know, pumping money into Bitcoin, although it seems far-fetched because the money that they're getting from the Federal Reserve, which they actually don't own or control. So they're like borrowing from somebody who like has an interest to not buy Bitcoin. However, you know, I've always said that the governments are sure to buy Bitcoin if the bankers already own it, which they've been doing for a while. So, yeah, so I think like as unbelievable as it might be, I think the Bitcoin strategic reserve is within the realm of possibility, whereas like a week ago I would have argued it's not.
Absolutely, especially the way Senator Limits breaks it down. And that would be, Maddie, actually the perfect example of what I called earlier about a crypto specific policy or bill or whatever, that if it goes in, all these other macro, no offense, which are extremely important, of course, but none of those are going to matter because that specific thing is just going to skyrocket everything else. Because the moment you do that, first of all, many other countries are going to follow suit. Many other sovereign fund, hedge funds, basically the biggest money there is going to have to follow suit as well. And then next thing you know, the big company that were kind of on the fence, you know what I mean, the Amazon of the world, the Facebook of the world or whatever, basically the big US company that have hundreds of billions of dollars of cash just sitting around burning, you know, that usually is just sitting dead because it's buying non-really yielding assets that's above inflation. You know, right now, yeah, rates are higher, but it's not really, if you go based on shadow stats, you know what I mean, not just what we're being told, oh, you're getting 5%, inflation is only 3%. If you go based on shadow stat, you know, yearly inflation is like 9%. You know what I mean? So it's like they'll be like, wow, now we get the guarantee that we need, so to speak, then they're just gonna go all in. And then at that point, once they have, like anybody that I ever bought a crypto or whatever, once your main stack is safe and you're above of your quote unquote your entry point, everything is just bonus from there. So next thing you know, you just add to the position and then you're buying dips, and then next thing you know, the show goes on. Everybody buys and then support the price, and the whole ecosystem gets an additional easily, I can see 2 to 3 to 5 trillion added within a year span. But those things needs to happen. It's wait and see. But the combination of executive order, the SEC, Gary being out, just that breath of fresh air might make investor want to come back, because everybody that's a true investor understand that you should never wait for 100% of the information before pulling the trigger. Because when that happened, guess what? The opportunity is gone. 100% information, complete certainty, well, there's no more opportunity. Everybody's already in. Too late. Usually the sweet spot is around 40%. Certainly if you have a strong conviction that something is going to be here for a long period of time. So it might be a little bit early, but then if you stick through it and you have a longer time frame, then you can kind of bet on the long term. But on average, it's like once you get 40 and you really do advanced research, 40 to 50% of the information, and you have a good conviction, then you make a bet usually. So, and I think Trump getting in safely, no drama, inauguration, first couple policies shows that he really cares about the crypto crew. shows that, you know, he's going to deregulate a lot of things, lower tax. And another thing that's really cool that I retweeted today and somebody put in the chat, that's really cool. We got a new department, breaking news, that's going to be opening up, which is awesome. The external revenue services, that is so cool. Imagine we can lower our taxes just with that. That will be fire, which is basically the money generated probably from the tariffs. Because guess what? It can help go and service the debt. It can make America wealthy again, fast. I know it sounds like a joke, but I've educated myself on that. And then Patrick Bet-David, which is really cool, Valuetainment, the podcast, they did a whole hour explaining the value of tariff and where does it come from. It's really, I highly recommend everybody to go and watch that podcast. It breaks it down that not too long ago, literally a little bit over 100 years ago, America used to literally just have, again, no income tax whatsoever before the Federal Reserve. Everything was just running on tariffs, not even too crazy. And America had crazy surplus, crazy extra money. They didn't even know what to do with themselves because, again, they're creating so much wealth for other countries. And then the only notion of tax only started when they needed to finance wars. And a lot of them back in the day, in the 1800s even, it was like, oh, like a 3 or 5% or 7%. But the best part was, it was, hey, we need this to finance the war, but it was time limited. Keyword, time limited. You get a 5 to 6% tax tariff, whatever you want to call it, but it's a tax. And then we needed to run it for 3 to 5 years to finance the war. And then after that, it's gone. But then after World War, I think 1 or 2, they made that thing again, December 25th, funny, Christmas Day, whatever. They sneaked that back in and they made it a permanent thing. Next thing you know, we have income tax. Next thing you know, we take the money directly from your paycheck before you even touch the money. So you're being stolen from before you even know that you got paid. That's how they finesse the thing. So if we go back to the old ways or just slightly just use that external revenue and the tariffs and all this other stuff so we can lower income tax because America is self-financing itself, that's going to be a huge boost because, Maddie, back to the point, if the reserve gets approved, the Bitcoin reserve, and now we start generating hundreds of billions of dollars just in tariff money, well, guess what? We can use that money to stack onto the Bitcoin, increase the value of the collateral, which is the fastest way to then over-collateralize the debt because that's what you do. You build wealth like that faster. You push the value of your collateral. You're not trying to take the money to go pay off the debt because it's going to take longer. You just boost the value of the collateral, as let's say Bitcoin, and then you can say, hey, with $30 trillion in debt, but then the value of the asset, not just Bitcoin, as Bitcoin, the land that the government owns, tariff, GDP, whatever, all of a sudden, if that becomes a greater than the debt that we owe, next thing you know, we're no longer over 100%, debt over GDP, which is bad because that's just a sign of you turn into a banana republic, third world country, hyperinflation, you name it. If we can go back to normal range between 80 to 60% debt to GDP ratio, we're in a sweet spot. And next thing you know, everything just flat. So, but again, it's wait and see. A lot of great policies. Another thing that I like about the gala that you mentioned is that besides the crypto ball, the attendance, man, 5-star, top like doers, top CEOs, tech industry, you name it. Like less politician, people just want to get shit done. You know what I mean? And I'm just excited that America run by those people. It's what it is. So now we just wait and we see, and we hope for the best that no crime happens on that day, and we'll be here with a cocktail, and then reborn.
Right. Yeah. We'll report on it the day after Trump.
Yeah. Fast. What do you think? I know you're in Canada, but hey, by the way, funny joke. You want to be part of the 51st state? Let us know. We got you in.
If you want to be the 11th province, we have free healthcare. And let's talk. But I think
the United States of America, the whole thing, all the way to Canada, it's part of America. All the way to Greenland.
Yeah. I don't think the Greenland thing's going to work out either, but good try.
No, but I read an article on that, and I watched a video too from PBD. It's actually a great point because in the future, with the ice melting cap, there is a route that can help go from America to Asia, passing through Greenland. Funny enough, like a Panama Canal situation, where you get a trade route to then protect against, depending on, the China Sea, because that zone right around Singapore and stuff, when a lot of the ports and things goes through, if China start controlling the zone or whatever, and we're trying to avoid World War III and protect our interests in Taiwan and all this other stuff, this would be a great play. Again, I'm talking 20 years from now. We protect Taiwan to the point where we start move all the important chips back in America, aka Texas or whatever, start doing just as good as what you can do in Taiwan. So we don't have to rely on them anymore, whether we protect them or not. We're gonna keep protecting them, but not to the point where it's like, oh my God, if they go down, we're in trouble. Like we get that self-sufficient, right? America first, and then we either take back over the Panama Canal because he needs $5 billion of reparation. Huh, what a joke. So they're saying, oh, we don't want to let you, but yeah, but you need the thing, which by the way, we gave it to you for $1. Bad deal again by the old president.
Well, there could be the Greenland Canal instead of the Panama Canal. That's what you're saying?
Yeah, because with the melting cap that's going, it shows that a route might be developing in the next 10 to 20 years because of where the ice is melting. And by the way, Greenland is a massive land. It's almost like twice as big as Texas, but it's less than 60,000 inhabitants over there. It's like,
but fun fact though, Greenland is actually part of Denmark. So Denmark
owns it.
Something to say about that.
And by the way, we talked to the Danish and the people over there in Greenland. They're like, "Yo, we want to be part of America." They'll be down. They did
we're gonna get the rare earth metals that are
there. Would you
want
to be part of America?
Don't forget about
yes.
that.
More than 50% of the vote said yes. That's funny.
We'll see how that turns out. But I think the next couple weeks in America will be smooth enough. I don't foresee anything terrible happening. I think the inauguration is going to go through. Yeah. And that it's gonna be a good month.
Yeah, good month. That'll be the best birthday present for me. You know, by February 3rd, by my birthday, all this thing kind of checks out. Safe transition. Gary's out. Maybe bonus we get Auntie Carol to say something, but again, don't put my word for it. It's just
definitely by your birthday.
Right, and we get Super Bowl II here in New Orleans. That's gonna be cool.
Okay,
coming through. It's gonna be vibe. But yeah, it will be so cool. Yeah, and it's true.
Yeah, Panama next month. I'll talk to them for you guys about if they want to be American or not. We'll see.
Will you?
Sure, no problem. I know a guy.
Right? Why not? To some degree.
Like, just make sure that the payment has to be made in HEX.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the only fair way, really.
Out of territories now, you get.
What is it? What's that other country that decided Bitcoin was legal tender?
El Salvador.
El Salvador. So Panama could decide that HEX was legal tender. That would probably make me side with them. You know, if I was.
Wouldn't that be cool?
It would be.
Get it done.
Cool. It's not impossible. Yeah,
it's not. Oh, imagine they make a special deal and then the banks gets involved, and the next thing you know, you can start taking crypto, Bitcoin, ETH, whatever, stablecoin, and then you can put it in your bank account and then start, drawing against it as a collateral. That would be so cool. That's the day I wait for. HEX
there's
collateral everywhere. That would be so
that's
cool.
One of like the expected
with the stablecoin
executive orders, I think has to do with like some sort of law that makes it so that banks can't do that now. Yeah. Like holding crypto on their balance sheet and not marking it down or something like that.
Exactly. It's just so
I
dumb.
forget the specific term. We're still pumping strong right now. I mean, the price is going up.
Content, Maddie. Don't you know? I'm back.
It's Tuesday. Kareem's back.
The thing's funny, right? When I'm not here, the person, yeah, Kareem. I mean, the loud minority. Kareem, where you at? You're up in the price. I'm like, bro, come on. Got no internet. Now I'm back. It's back to business. But I swear to God, when that day comes, which I strongly believe it will come, the same way in Dubai right now or in Miami, you can straight up buy a building, straight up crypto. Like they might not take HEX right now, but they definitely take Ether or Bitcoin right now, which all stablecoin, which means you just, DeFi, you just 1 to 2 swap away and then boom. But there's going to be a future where you can literally send the thing to your bank. Not the whole thing, but basically you can put it there and then start borrowing against it. Now we all become like Elon and Bezos. The coolest thing you want to do is building wealth. You never sell. There's no taxable event. You just tell the bank, hey, here's my crypto, the collateral. Give me a loan. And if you work hard, your credit, you might get lucky. It might not be as good as a central bank. You might not get 1%, but maybe they'll give you a 4% loan, 5% personal loan. And then if you don't want to pay crazy tax capital gain, you never sell. You just hold the crypto. Imagine you hold the crypto. The bank gives you a loan based on the crypto you give them. And then that crypto average a nice 8 to 10% increase year over year. You're good. You become like Tesla. You never sell. You just hold the thing. And then obviously don't be stupid with the money after you borrow it. That would be the dumb thing that's going to get you liquidated. But assuming you're wise and you want to live your best life and be financially free, right? You stay date and chill. The chilling part becomes even easier because you no longer have to worry about, oh my God, when I sell, I'm going to pay this big capital gain. No, you don't sell. You just transfer the coins and then you put it in the bank, and then the bank gives you a loan in fiat. And then you live and you're just happy. It's like holding stocks and then you put them as collateral. It's the same thing.
We can do that on chain now, right? We got all our liquidity forks.
Right.
You can
True.
take a loan out without
But
selling.
here's the problem in America. It's not Dubai. We do that on chain, but in Dubai, it will work because you do that on chain, you will get the stable, and then you can send them the stable and they take it wherever you go and you can buy anything you want. But over here, they want dumbass fiat. So then you will do the thing on chain, but by the time you go from crypto to fiat, then the tax hits you again. So in other
That's
words,
true.
it's not relevant. The
But
point is not
I
to
think
say-
it is relevant because you didn't. It depends how you look at it. Like if you didn't sell, right?
Yeah.
Like I have whatever. I have $1 million in Pulse, and I'm going to take out $100,000 against that Pulse as a loan, but I
But
never
where?
sold my Pulse. Where?
No, that's true. But that's what we're saying. The bank needs to allow it here. The bank doesn't allow it here as of now. In other
The
words,
bank doesn't, but crypto does. So we already
No, I
have
get
that
that.
utility.
let me give you an example. We're saying the same thing, but I'm just saying that certain part of the world are not there yet. In other words, let's say you got the crypto, you take the loan against it, right? They give you stable. Technically speaking, that stable coin is still crypto. The moment you got that stable coin, let's say I transfer to the exchange, right? Which is my only option. I cannot transfer directly to my bank. My bank currently right now does not have a crypto wallet. I have to go to the exchange. And even though it's stable coin, the moment I go from stable coin, let's say USDC to USD, if I have to justify what that is, because for sometimes they might say it's a transaction. It's like, okay, you got 100K here and you convert to 100K. Where's that money come from? What did you do? What's the taxable? They're always going to try to find a way.
There'd be paperwork, but you'd still be able to say like, I still have the initial $1 million and I just borrowed 100,000 against it. This is a loan.
Yeah, that'll be heavy paperwork. Because sometimes they're like, nah, you
Oh,
sold
sure.
crypto. Give me some. Yeah, they're always trying to. Because remember, IRS is not your friend. Sometimes you can have all the paperwork. They'll still say, oh, it's a taxable event because you did this and you swap. A swap is a swap and blah, blah, blah. And so that's why you want to be careful. But I believe we're going to get to a point where it's straight up going to be on chain and they'll just take the stable coin. You get what I'm saying? They'll just take the USDC and that's that. Or they'll just let you send the Ethereum example or the Bitcoin and then they'll just hold it. It's not a sale. You just send and they'll hold it and they'll be like, oh, this Bitcoin is worth, $100,000. You say you send one Bitcoin, it's worth 100K. They might not tell you, hey, fast, I'm going to give you 100K. No, because Bitcoin's volatile, like any crypto. They might say, okay, debt to ratio, a loan to ratio is maybe 50%. So in other words, you put 100K collateral, they'll only let you borrow 50 because they want to account for volatility. And of course, if the Bitcoin goes below 50K, then they liquidate, they sell it. And then that will be the taxable event. And at least they don't have a loss.
And
But
it's the same on chain. Like be a liquidated on chain, that is a taxable event, right? You don't want to do that.
Right.
But let's say in this case, the bank does it. All you have to do is send them the coin. Then they have the coin and automatically they issue you a loan, which is tax-free, and send that to your account and you can start buying stuff with it. That will be the fucking day when I say, hallelujah, we made it. We freaking made it. Now, some part of the world already does that, but we don't do that here as of yet.
What do you think, Crispy?
Yeah.
I think the sooner the better.
All
The
right.
sooner the better.
Yeah, shout out to Mark F in the chat. I'm sorry, buddy. Me too. I'm disappointed. I wish I was there, but I couldn't make it. So internet connection wasn't good where I was. But I definitely tried. I promise. You can ask Maddie. I told him.
Oh yeah. Kareem was doing everything in his power to try to be a part of the conference again this year, and
because
we're
I was there
lucky
every
to
year.
have him on Tuesday nights again as always. And
But trust me, I was there in spirit. I was definitely there in spirit.
Yeah.
I talked to a few people. A few people would send me DMs that needed some pointers for their presentation. I helped them out, so that was pretty cool.
Nice.
Again, community is strong. That's the key. We're not going anywhere. And don't let the haters, even if you don't see me for a little bit, just remember, if you didn't hear it from me directly, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere.
Right.
We're here for the long run. We're going to continue to pump, do the right thing, and continue to grow the community. You know what I mean?
Well, things are looking good right now.
Somebody say keep streaming. We're pumping.
Yeah, PulseX is up 19%, Inc.
Woo!
19.5%,
There you
Pulse
go.
up 10%.
Let's go.
What else? Hex
All
up
sex 350.
15%.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that axis pump earlier today signaled the start.
Oh yeah.
It was up like
What's up with
7%.
that?
Even Calm is pumping.
Went up like
Everything.
60%.
Yeah.
I think Axis went up 60%, 60,
Yeah.
70%, and
Nice.
Com's tied with it. It followed it.
EX is pumping
Oh
too.
yeah.
Don't play with it.
Bumping. Looks
Don't
good.
play with it. EX is pumping too. Everything's pumping. Bonding liquidity, baby. How many people we got watching on the stream right now? Like,
Don't fade the pump.
Well, we're broadcasting across many different channels,
Yes.
and so yeah, like it's telling me 1,092 impressions in total, active viewers 114 on one YouTube, 16 on another YouTube, and the rest of like the 1,100 viewers, they were watching at least for a second on Twitter.
nice. It's all of that. A lot of bridge money is coming in from Rap Thief. A little bit of USDC, but it's a lot of Rap Thief coming in. Again, it's the money that got chicken out that's coming back in, or it's new players coming in and be like, all right, cool, time to get in. Because just like I said earlier, the real good investors understand that once again, you don't need 100% of the information to get in. Because when you get to 100%, there is no opportunity. Hear me loud and clear. There is no opportunity. It's called asymmetry for a reason. Risk, reward. The more the risk, the more the reward, right? Which is why you have to adjust, like we talked about earlier with Crispy, which then means the lesser the risk, right? Now you reverse it, right? More risk, more reward, which also means less risk, less reward. So if you wait, I want to wait for inauguration. I want to know for sure. Well, guess what? Maybe the thing pumped 300%, and then you missed the move. I mean, you might get another 50% after that, but you could have been at 500%. Now you only have 50 because you went in for the perfect opportunity when people are already deploying cash. And I don't know if you get to do the little chart thing for 2 seconds, but our charts are looking good because they're creating high lows. There was a heavy bullish divergence on the weekly chart, and now we're looking good. The pulse chart. Manny, can I check my screen real quick?
Sure. We got 9 minutes left.
All right, cool. Yeah, just something a little quick. We're gonna just go over every coin. Hold on, let me plug this over here. Okay, cool. Boom. All right, share screen.
Boom, boom, and boom.
Yeah. It's fun. And shout out to everybody in the chat once again. Thanks for being here. Let me know when you can see my screen now.
Got it.
All right, cool. So again, let me reset some other stuff. Yeah, totally in love. Perfect. So just basic standard. Everybody's seen this for a while. So the cool thing is this, right? This support here is just kind of like a retest. You know, we took out from here. This is where we got the little FUD, the little Interpol garbage, whatever. But you know where the strong buyers are. They know they were probably started from here. See that heavy bounce because they start gobbling. Then they wait. And then now we've been doing this little downtrend, but now we broke out. So chances are this is a high chain. This is pulse chain. This is a high chain that clean. We're just pushing back by the end of the month. See, by my birthday, February 3rd, there's a high likelihood that we're going to redo a move like this and then start going back to where we belong, so to speak. So if that does, because remember, bonding liquidity, that means that PulseX in the balance of probability, which is the coolest coin right now, because again, he has the buyback and burn, he has the volume, even Richard talked about it quite some times. So I draw this line here based on this top, but we already recovered from here. We have maybe a little pit stop over here, but chances are PulseX is on the way to go right back towards the 6,000 of a penny. So it's textbook. It's clean. Retest from this zone. Again, bonding liquidity, they look very, very similar. When you look at Inc, same thing. The cool thing about Inc is that, again, it's the thing that sometimes gets sold the most because a lot of people are, like I said, minting hundreds of thousands of Inc worth every month. So sometimes they just want to take profit. But what's
They're going to find out that's a big mistake.
Exactly. But the cool thing is that, remember, behind every red candle.
You know why, right?
Because people forget. Red means also what? That means that when somebody sells, somebody buys. Never forget that. For somebody to buy, somebody needs to sell. For somebody to sell, somebody needs to buy. So when people cashing out or panicking, like this was a panic, that was a wreck candle. Like this is 30%. But if you look at the wick, this thing, some people actually sold literally that thing like down almost 55%. Panic selling for no reason. And this is the coin with the lowest market cap, which means there's not that many coins. So, and in the future is going to be the most important coin because a lot of the new liquidity that comes in pumps in to increase the incentives. So again, perfect zone, bounce from here, recovering, doing the same thing. And for those who not paying attention, this is a weekly chart. It's a little bit different than this one over here because this one over here, when I was showing the other stuff, this was daily chart, okay? Primarily, I look at it on the weekly chart because I want to see what the base support is. But even when you look at it on the daily, same thing. If I were to draw the line, they look very similar. Breakout, right, from the descending. See the MACD cross. It's most likely going to do a move like this, which then means it's about to do a move like that. Expect very, very shortly by February, you can easily have anywhere between $3 to $4 ink. Because why not? Again, clear breakout. The more people sell, as those people who were buying the dip, the easier the price can pump back up. Look how like this first candle yesterday was up 19%. It's 19% on very low volume. Why? Because those who sold, especially like here, already collapsed. Those are the people who probably accumulated a lot of ink for weeks and months. That candle was a high volume sale and that got absorbed. So it can easily pump with almost no volume. The moment we start having candles like this, like here, it's right back to $4 like it's no big deal. Same thing when you look at HEX, right? Which I told you before, and I'm going to rewarn you guys again, is the leading indicator, right? What does that mean? Leading indicator is saying that, let me go back to the daily real quick. Most likely what happens is, in terms of volume, HEX goes first, and then everybody else follow because the ratio trading between HEX and Pulse is done in such a way, for those who forgot, let me click on it to show you, that is always a base. You see, it rarely goes below here. It's been puking a little bit when people were panicking, selling. Some of it was the people selling for the Alti thing and whatever, and other coins and whatever it might be, or even PDI chasing some stuff. So, but a lot of that got bought. Look at this volume candle here. Nasty, insane. People got wrecked playing ratio trading and literally post 35%. Insane. So it's like all that got absorbed. So in the balance of probability, what's going to start happening, just like before, you're going to start seeing this. HEX going to start gaining against Pulse Chain again because it's the most oversold. Anywhere from, see, this says 40%. So if now all of a sudden we get another 30 to 40% move like that against Pulse while Pulse is pumping, so easy example, if HEX is 20% better than Pulse and then Pulse catch a 10% pump, that means HEX is going to pump 30%. Very important to understand this concept, right? The HEX to HEX to Pulse ratio is just retesting previous support that was right around here. So now when I go back to the USD value, it's very, very important here. Same thing that we're seeing like the other coins, right? Boom. Breakdown from the descending, right? Reg, breakout. There's a high chance that first stop right around 2 cents, 1.8. Once it breaks out of here, just follow the lines. 2.3, 2.5, 2.7. Easy peasy. But here, it can quickly, by inauguration, 20th February, my birthday right here, February 3rd, just up and to the right, following this kind of path, you can see an easy retest going right back. When you look at the MACD, same thing, already crossed, screen, it's looking good, ready to push up. Now, it doesn't have to go up in a straight line. It might do something like this, pumps, then cools off, then pumps, right? The same way when I look at it on the weekly chart, same thing. We have had literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks of red. That rarely happens, right? Which then means that a lot of this puking, but we never really lost the old support where we pumped from before. So all of that got evacuated. Now we can easily pump right back up. So that's really, really important too. You see the dragonfly here, reversal candle, because look at how much the wick was. We wicked all the way down here, and then we recover and we pump. That's very bullish. If you guys remember, literally November, 2 months ago, I showed you guys the same freaking thing. Look, I even circled it. I said, guys, every time you see this, where it dumps first, like it's supposed to be red, but then it recovers and then it pumps and creates a bigger candle than the candle before. That's super bullish. Look, it's doing that right now. Bigger wick, weekly chart, very important. I told you guys, big macro, big investors, which everybody can be. Our people thinking long term, big time frame. It was a bigger wick, started red like those, and then it got canceled out. Somebody said, nah, a group of people, money came back in, engulfed the previous candle, push up, and food for thought, friendly reminder, guys. It's only what? It's only Tuesday. Tomorrow is Wednesday. We haven't even hit the midweek yet. Just imagine what it's going to be by Sunday when the candle closes. That's insane. We're just warming up. There's a high chance that this candle is going to look like this candle. Mark my word. Means that HEX going back towards 2 cents very, very easily. And because a lot of selling was happening, and shout out to Crypto Coffee. He did a post a couple weeks back, which was important. I saw that too from somebody else, where when we were here, very important, we had a lot of liquidity in HEX term. I'm going to say this slow. It's very important for new people to understand. We had a lot of liquidity in HEX term. So the price was pumping hard with crazy volume, sucking that liquidity out. And then when the things start to dump, especially the heavy dump here, it was dumped on the small HEX liquidity because a lot of that liquidity already got purchased. It was just fresh new HEX that was sold. And people were panicking because they were worried about Interpol and this and that and the third, which then means that it's much easier for the price to pump right back up faster because the HEX liquidity is still very thin because it already got gobbled over here. Here was harder back in the day because there was a lot of HEX and, obviously bank HEX was selling a lot. They still have a few left, but a lot of it got gobbled because some of it, yes, is EHEX that they're selling, but if everybody's smart and understand bundling liquidity, some of that EHEX also affects PHEX because there's a heavy ratio swap between the two, and sometimes the liquidity is on both sides because bank HEX have bridged some of their EHEX to Pulse Chain and sell, and some of the liquidity is bonded with EHEX, PHEX, so it will affect PHEX as well. Well, the point of the matter is, perfect example, look, the candle right here, perfect example of what I'm explaining. It's half the volume of this candle, yet it already overtook the previous candle. That's how crazy it is. This was down 6%. This is already up 12% with half the volume. What does that tell you? That tells you that there's not that many HEX left in the pool compared to the time around here when we first pumped, which means that it's easy on low volume, low HEX liquidity to create candle like this. See? Low volume. Boom, 50%. Next one, a little bit higher, but still less than those one here. Boom, 55%. This one, 54%. It's only around here and here that you see the volume start to rise, which means that it's pushing up, but people are also selling, but it's pushing up. So I wouldn't be surprised if this segment here start looking like this. I wouldn't be surprised.
That'd be beautiful.
Inauguration, we start printing, 30, 40, 50% candles again, recovering where we're supposed to be. And once we, quote unquote, we're supposed to do breakout, retest, and then go, but then we got the little Finland FUD over here, the Interpol. That's what kind of created a panic. But that's being digested. Shout out to all the people who have debunked the FUD. Again, shout out to Sumney again, doing the whole when he was explaining that the Interpol is corrupt, which is true. So again,
Fasting God created a petition to the Parliament of Europe to investigate. So yeah, lots of good stuff. And let's just take HEX so high that we have enough money to buy the Panama Canal and Canada and Greenland and Finland. Why not?
Wouldn't that be nice? That would be super nice. So yeah. So in conclusion, we're looking good, and we just need to stay the course, stay focused. And continue the community outreach that we've been doing, staying in solidarity, very important. And then there's one more shout I want to give. Again, shout out to Godwell for donating money for the program. I forget the name. There's a program that I heard that people are doing to try to like fight disinformation about HEX and negative posting and stuff like that.
That wasn't donated by Godwell. They were
Oh.
asking Godwell for the donation, and then an unknown wallet donated.
Oh, okay. I thought there was 2 donations. I heard there was like a 50K and then 55K.
Yeah, it all came from PDI that was like not associated with the Godwell wallet.
Thanks for
But
clarifying.
hey, like it's a great initiative. Like the more initiatives we can get, the better. Like if
Yep.
you know,
Yeah.
like Godwell like donated to the Hex and Pulse Chain badge
Oh, yeah.
thing,
He's
like the
notorious
conference
for
thing
doing
from his own address.
Yeah.
So I think it's safe to assume that he might still be considering whether to donate to that PDI thing or not. But like, yeah, I love that people are stepping up on the marketing front because that's a sign of a healthy, decentralized community.
Exactly. And if anything, obviously we always say outreach is always the best type of marketing, but I just like the fact that it's specifically designed to fight FUD against misinformation about
Right.
HEX. So that's what I want to highlight.
I love it.
Not so much about, hey guys, come join us and whatever. It's like, bro, we're perfectly self-sufficient. If the haters want to hate, that's fine. We're fine. But just don't say lie about us.
But we're going to tell them, welcome to Hex. We love you.
Exactly.
And with that being said, thanks everybody for tuning in tonight. Hit the like and subscribe button. Follow all these guys on their social medias as seen like on the screen.
Yep.
And any other like closing comments?
Oh, one last thing. I just want to help the guy in the chat ask the question about the Godwell stake. Honestly, I would just like to say probably Godwell just know his name's Godwell. He has too many hacks anyway, so he probably just forgot, or probably wanted to give a donation to the staker. That's the only 2 explanations. He forgot. It's only 21 days. It's not like it's like years, and it's 3.6 billion hacks. Or he did it on purpose because I know he's very smart, and he just wanted to donate to the people who actually stake. Because once again, Crispy back me up on this. Guess what? Those who were staked got paid. Those who are not, well, guess what? You ain't got a single hex.
Awesome.
Stakers are going to win, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's do it.
The game is rigged.
Love it.
It is. That's it.
Hey, you're right. And
Well,
the rules
thanks-
are clear. The question
Thanks
is,
to all of you guys for contributing tonight and for making the show another great Tuesday night that people are apparently like pumping the price for. So with that being said, until next time, stake wisely, my friends, and peace out.
peace out. This is awesome.